Hello and welcome to Workhorse Wrestling Network. You are gathered with us this fine Saturday morning for the Winner's Circle, where we will tell you what was the best show in this week in wrestling. Sorry.
It's all good. You can tell that Sammy's energy on Saturday morning is not quite what it is sometimes on Saturday evenings or in the evening shows. A lot of times he's super excited. This morning he's still a little tired. So yes, as he was saying, we are here for another episode 2 of the Winner's Circle. If you joined us last week, we appreciate it. We're going to review Monday Night Raw from earlier this week, July 15th, NXT from the next day, Tuesday, July 16th, and AEW Dynamite from the next day, Wednesday, July 17th. And then at the end, we'll go ahead, we'll grade each show after we're done talking about them, and then at the end, we'll pick a winner of the 3 shows for the week. We should have Miss Anika any time. She said she was going to be here. So in the meantime, we're going to talk about it more when we get there. But what did you think just quickly about Ospreay MJF from Dynamite?
Bro, that should have been on a pay-per-view.
There were some little things that, like, it's interesting to me, like, little things that both of them do that really separate the good guys or the good wrestlers from the great wrestlers or the guys that there was one spot where MJF ran up the ropes after a counter from Ospreay and like stopped and wiped his brow and went, like, I got away from that move. Just those little type of things, just those little things make the storyline so much better, make the match so much better. And both of them are really good at those kind of things. They're both very good at.
I actually had a thought while I was watching it. I was thinking to myself, these two are so different, but like I'd call both of them perfect wrestlers.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing about it, is that like you don't have to fit some sort of mold, some sort of design, like how Vince McMahon would think. Like both of these men, in my opinion, are perfect wrestlers, and they're both so different from each other.
Yeah, and I don't know how tall they are, and I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but me and Dolores talked a little bit about it last night on the True Heel Heat Twitch channel when we did it at the GCW watch along. But I don't know if you guys saw Kevin Nash's stupid comment from earlier in the week about Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. He was saying that's when wrestling ended, that you can't have 2 5'7" guys wrestling for the championship. It's like having a small penis in a porno, and nobody wants to watch that. That's exactly what he said. So, and I don't know how tall Will Ospreay or MJF is, but I know that MJF is not tall. So when you say that, it just further solidifies what a fucking idiot that he is to make that kind of a statement. Like, you don't have to be 6'5" and 300 pounds to be a wrestler, dude. You can have real high quality technical wrestling that is very good, that is more than enough to lead your company and to be your champions. I mean, technical wrestling, I don't see the issue. I just don't understand that mindset.
And I love me some Big Sexy, but let's not forget your 7 foot behind dropped Big Show on his head. So how much about your type of wrestling did you perfect in your life? No offense.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I get tired of seeing a poor big boot, a bad leg drop, a bad right hand. You know what I mean? It's like these guys don't do anything. But, I mean, Kevin Nash's offense was limited. I mean, I liked Big Sexy at the time. I liked Diesel, but his offense was always limited. He was always kind of a schmuck in general. You know what I'm saying? And now, after being out of wrestling, the comments he's made post-wrestling career have been horrendous. This is just one of many.
And especially when your friend is Shawn Michaels. Like, sir, so what does that say about how you thought Shawn Michaels was in the ring?
Right, well, that too.
And another thing is that, like, the people who he said there are also 2 people who are basically, like, perfect freaking wrestlers, too.
Exactly.
Like, and then when you look at the other dudes who I'd say are perfect wrestlers, you got, like, Bryan Danielson. He ain't big. Like,
I mean, honestly, I can't think of one big wrestler that I would call that belongs in right now in my top 5 of all time at this point. I mean, not a big wrestler, not what you would
Um,
consider a big guy.
John Moxley.
Yeah,
He's not a
maybe.
big guy though.
He's
He's like
6'3",
6'2".
like 250. That's pretty
Yeah,
big.
but no, I mean you're right. Compared to a Kevin Nash or a, even maybe like a Brock Lesnar, or I mean he doesn't look that
Like,
big at all.
I
So
mean, I mean, he's the same height as Brock Lesnar.
right, but he looked substantially smaller, even though he's just because Brock's so muscular. But
yeah. Like
the
in my
whole thing is,
mind, when you say big, tall wrestler like The Undertaker, The Great Khali, Kane, Big
yeah,
Show, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. He's not there yet, but maybe 1 or 2 years, Drew McIntyre. But that's because he actually moves.
Yeah, I mean, Drew's one of the more athletic big guys. There have been some very athletic big guys. I mean, Keith Lee, I don't know how tall Keith Lee is, but he's a very athletic big guy. I mean, there's been a lot of them that have come along. And I'm
I,
sure a lot of these guys could do more and are probably more athletic than we see. That's the limit, the WWE's put on them because of their style or whatever, or, whatever the case may be. Or someone's told them at some point, you're too big to be doing X, Y, Z. And so they took it out of their repertoire or whatever. I mean, all these guys are good athletes. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean,
Keith Lee's probably also around that 6'3" mark. A lot of wrestlers are. But he looks massive when you put him behind Adam Cole. Like,
Well, Rick Ross told us that he was a big mother, so we know he's big.
I mean, I'm 6'2", and I feel like a big mother effer sometimes standing next to other people.
And I understand he who should not be named. It is what it is around his death and all that went down. And Eddie Guerrero, it is what it is again with his death. But still, have some respect, Nash. These are 2 dead guys for one. And secondly, you sound like the old grumpy guy who's yelling at the young kids to get off their lawn. It's like you have. Back in my day, we did everything so much better, and it was ruined when these younger, smaller guys came in and took over. It's like, dude, fuck off. Like
as much as I appreciate Mark Calloway, you cannot pay me to watch The Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez again.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. Never, no, definitely not. And at one point I made a comment about. And it was mostly because I was thinking about Giant Gonzalez. And there were a couple in the very beginning about the Undertaker streak being kind of lackluster and not having a lot of great opponents. That was in the beginning, there were a couple questionable opponents, Giant Gonzalez. But towards the end, he definitely faced a lot of really good guys. So I do take that back. But there were a couple questionable opponents during that Undertaker streak, Giant Gonzalez being one of them. And yeah, I never want to see that again.
I'd say the big one was Edge. When we got to Edge, it's like, oh, we're cooking.
Like, I think more so when they were trying to when they actually acknowledged of trying to break the streak, it's like, okay, now we actually had to put some forethought into who I should face.
Yeah.
Like you said. Like, because was Ed before or after Batista? Because Batista, I actually love Taker versus Batista. It was before. So I would say Batista is when they actually started cooking, like, oh, snap. Oh, there's actually one of the big matches of WrestleMania I want to, pay attention to.
I mean,
yeah, and I think we were already 10 matches into the streak at that point. He was like 10-0 already, 11-0. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, it feels like he was already
like maybe 13 or 14-0. Yeah.
So
I mean, I'd argue it was Orton.
Yeah.
Like, the feud leading up to it was spectacular, where Orton was like, you have this record, and, that's a legendary record.
Yeah.
I'm the legend killer, and I'm about to take it away from you. And it's like, ooh.
No,
I think that was the first time that they really acknowledged it.
Right. I don't disagree. I didn't remember that because I think I was kind of not watching wrestling consistently, so I don't remember that feud all the way. But I don't disagree though.
And
Right. Good.
I remember watching that WrestleMania live. Like, I was completely hyped for it.
All right. So, as I said earlier, we're here for episode 2 of the Winner's Circle. We're going to review Raw, NXT, and Dynamite. We're going to start with Raw. We'll let Sammy get his little Raw segment out of the way. I know he's tired, but once he's done having to complete the show. So, this was Raw from Monday night, which was July 15th. So go ahead, Sammy. Let us know. Give us the rundown of what happened on Raw.
Rhea Ripley came out. She said some words. She said some things.
Some things.
Yeah, some things.
This was a very heavily Dominic apologizing to Rhea Ripley episode. He chased her all over the arena, everywhere where there was a camera, trying to apologize all show. So that was definitely the underlying current of the show. She wasn't really having it. So,
and I loved every minute of it.
So she demanded Liv Morgan come down to the ring, but she didn't. Dominic Mysterio came down to the ring, and Dominic Mysterio was trying to apologize, and then we had Liv Morgan pop up on the Peloton. So Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam for the title should be a good match.
I mean, there's meat on the bone there because of everything that's happened with the injuries and stuff and the title exchanges and all that stuff. And I'm assuming this is where Rhea gets her title back, which makes the Liv run even make less sense other than the fact they needed to put the belt on her so that Rhea could win it back when she came back. I'm assuming Rhea gets the win here, and I don't know. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of expectations for this match. Rhea's really good. Liv is okay. I don't know. I expect that Rhea's going to have her way for the most part in this match at SummerSlam. So
I don't know. I am truly nervous because I believe there's going to be a title change at SummerSlam. That title change, I do not think it's going to happen with Rhea. I personally would want it to because I don't get Liv Morgan. I'm sorry, I don't. But we're going to have to look at the bill and see where I sway. But it really does feel like if they wanted to keep it on Liv, they will. I do not think that's a good choice because, again, even this little period where she's been champ for 3 months, and no one has said, "Oh, I'm looking forward to Liv versus ... And even by her, people were like, "Well, Rhea didn't have a lot of opponents to her champ." Yes, but her presence made Raw more entertaining. Liv by herself without Dom, I don't want to see that. I don't.
So if Liv Morgan loses to Rhea Ripley and loses the title, does she fail at her revenge tour?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Like Rhea Ripley was the biggest component to her revenge tour, and she hasn't beaten Rhea Ripley.
Nope.
So.
Nope. No, and she shouldn't. I mean, I don't. When I think of Liv and Rhea, I don't see them on the same level. So. And like you were saying, Rhea has the charisma and that it factor to be to carry the women's division. Liv doesn't have that. And it's also an indictment of the WWE women's division at the moment. There just isn't a whole lot of really good women.
SmackDown. They're all on SmackDown.
Well, there's that too. Yeah. The limited number are on SmackDown. There are some injured, but yeah, I mean, it's an indictment of the women's division in general at the moment. So, I'm not a big Liv Morgan fan. I think the only way that I think the rubber meets the road at SummerSlam. Dom's going to ultimately have to make a decision. It seems like he's already made a decision. At least on Monday night, he's still following Rhea around. He called her his girl, and she didn't like that very much. But I guess we could see Dom turn, and maybe, that's the only way I think Liv wins that match is if he turns and helps Liv beat Rhea, which obviously is probably... I mean, that's a bizarre story. I don't know that I like that because I don't want to see Liv and Dom together. I don't know what that looks like after the turn or after they come together. I'm not sure that's very exciting to me. And then what happens with Judgment Day? Because honestly, Dom, I like Judgment Day for the most part, but Dom and Rhea were my favorite two
Uh-huh.
characters in Judgment Day, and their ongoing whatever they've got going was my favorite part of it. So if they're split up and he's gone, then I don't know what you say for Judgment Day anymore either. So I don't know. Rhea has to win. I just don't see how Rhea doesn't win.
As of right now, I will put it 60-40 Rhea wins.
It's probably fair. I'd probably go closer to 70-30, but yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, hopefully it'll be a good match. Hopefully it's better than I'm expecting.
All right. Well, Jey Uso wants to holler at Rhea Ripley. Dom didn't take kindly to that, so they have a match. Liv Morgan comes out. Dom tells her to leave him alone, and then Morgan ends up straddled on top of Dom. And then Rhea Ripley comes out. Liv runs away. Rhea tells Dom to finish the match.
Cause you gotta pay attention. It's like, number one, that's why I don't like you. That's why you're a sub, because you don't know how to freaking finish what you start. That's number one, Dom. Number two, Jey Uso. He was like, sometimes you don't need a full-on storyline. Just like I just need the perfect person in this scenario. In this scenario where Rhea comes back and it's like, oh, is she single or not? Jay's the perfect person to fight Dom right when Rhea comes back. It was hilarious. Now, I don't need them to, like, again, I don't need to be a full-on story. Like I said, this 1 week is cute. Let it, like, move on, right? But yes, this was hilarious. Jey Uso was hilarious. I loved every part of this. And Rhea, like, I think more so Rhea was like, see, this little distracting little heifer right here is not making you the best wrestler. Now go back in them freaking match, finish freaking match, and be a man. Damn it.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this. I mean, you basically said everything I wanted to say. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Solid segment, and, more Liv, Dom, Rhea stuff, which is obviously the hottest thing on Monday Night Raw at the moment. So,
yes, it did.
So Dominic lost. Not a big surprise to everybody, but
yeah.
We had Sheamus defeating Bronson Reed.
Yes.
Two big meaty men slapping me. Can't go wrong.
We had Sonya defeating Zelina Vega.
Real quick. So Sheamus did defeat Bronson Reed, but Pete Dunne came out and turned on Sheamus. I am looking forward to that story. I love Sheamus. I love Pete Dunne. It's not Butch anymore, so they can do a whole lot with this. So please do what this needs to happen. Please do more.
Yeah, he refused the handshake.
And then he let Bronson Reed do the tsunami on Sheamus. Like that's the heel turn. Like you don't have to be like, like, daggone, you just let this freaking 300-pound man squash me. What is wrong with you?
I was a little unsure at first if you were supposed to think there was going to be some sort of like a team up between Bronson and Pete. I don't think so. I think Pete was just happy to see Bronson squash Sheamus because he's turning on Sheamus. So
yes.
I was a little concerned they were going to maybe try to put them together in some way, shape, or form, but I don't think that's what's happening. I just think it's a Pete Dunne turn, which is fine. I'm here for Pete Dunne and Sheamus any day. You can give me that, every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Anytime I get to see Pete Dunne on TV, I'm happy, and Sheamus is always fun to watch. So
not me. I give you once a week. Any more than that, and I'm complaining. All right.
You said Sonya, and I'm sorry, you said Sonya and.
Sonya defeated Zelina Vega.
Unfortunately, because
these past couple of weeks, you just like, if you did not see Sonya and Andrade together, it's like, oh yeah, Zelina and Andrade together. You're like, oh yeah, Zelina's great on the mic. Why would we not have her on the mic more? So like, hopefully that won't change. Hopefully they'll rebuild her up. Not sure if that's in the wrestling capacity or more with LWO. But yeah, Zelina, she's a great character. Use her more.
Neither is a wrestler. They don't have enough female warm bodies on Raw that are good. She needs to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
So after the match, DeVille, Baszler, and Stark were beating down Zelina.
Have they named that faction yet?
They have not.
Did we? I think we talked a little bit about it last week. Are you guys here for it? You like it? Now that we've seen it more than once, what do you think?
So far, it's promising. So again, I think with every new faction, you need a plan and you need a good group to go against. No offense, but the Party Girls and Lyra, to me, isn't the best group to go against this.
They ran in for the save.
Yeah, and like they're not the best group to start off this hot faction in the best way. Not sure who the three girls would be, but it's not Lyra and the Party Girls. I'm sorry.
Again, an indictment of what's on Raw as far as women go and what there is for them to do. I mean, when you put 3 women that in theory are maybe, in your 10 best women on your show in a faction together, you limit their possibilities too. And I debate even, for me, out of those 3, when you're talking about Sonya, Shayna, and Zoe, really Shayna's the only superstar in my opinion. Sonya's good, but Zoe leaves to me to be a lot to be desired. I think she's, mid-card talent at best. I think Sonya can be better than that, but she hasn't really been booked too much that way in her career, and so I haven't seen a whole lot to show me that she's better than mid-card. Shayna's a star. So
and now that Shayna's like mid-40s, they're not going to be giving her any more opportunities, unfortunately.
Right. So, I mean, the faction itself feels kind of to me. Like, there's nothing in there that really moves the needle other than Shayna. And like you said, I mean, they're only going to give her so many opportunities at this point. So, I don't know. And without having anyone really good to go against, I'm not sure. The jury's still out for me on this faction.
Like I said, it's promising, but you need bigger people to go against. Like the scary, I was trying to think about my head who to go against. Put against the scary witches and Lyra. I think that would be a better team to go against than the Party Girls. I'm sorry.
We then had Damian Priest and Gunther talk about the upcoming SummerSlam match, where Gunther was like, I came here, everyone's a dreamer. He basically said, I don't have dreams, I crush them.
I mean, listen, not every promo has to be a John Moxley intense promo or a Hulk Hogan riled up, hey, brother Ford, doesn't have to be all those. But you have 2 really calm guys in the ring, and Gunther's very wordy. He doesn't get to the point quick. He likes to talk a little. And I think when you have both guys in there that are kind of, nonchalant about stuff, both kind of cavalier, the cool guy that doesn't whatever and doesn't want to, you miss a little bit of the intensity. Neither of them felt intense enough for me, and this dragged on a little. I thought it was a little slow for a promo battle for me. It didn't do a whole lot to hype this match up. I mean, I'm excited for the match already. This didn't do a whole lot for me to make it more exciting.
That reminds me, Hulk Hogan was in town the other day.
Oh yeah.
I guess signing autographs or something.
Sure. Well, for me, I enjoyed it. So, but one of the things that stood out of Gunther's promo is that he went a little bit hard on Damien, talking about you're just street trash. It's like, what? Wow! You didn't have to go that hard, sir. And it's like, but he's a heel. So then kind of begs the question of how far is too far. People are like, this is AAA 2003. No. Triple H 2003 was very, very disrespectful, on the verge of saying some slurs that could have gotten him canceled. This was just street trash. Everyone could be street. You can call anybody street trash. Let's call a spade.
Damien had a good line where he was talking about how Gunther doesn't even realize how he lost at WrestleMania, and it's the reason why he's going to lose at SummerSlam.
And let's be clear, I've never been the biggest Triple H fan. In fact, there was a lot of times where I actively disliked Triple H, but the man knows how to give a promo, and neither Gunther or Damian Priest, especially Gunther, is not Triple H. So, I mean, there's definitely no comparison there when it comes to promo stuff. So, I get the language, like, the potential, like, calling them trash and all those kind of, but I mean, for me, I just don't see any kind of comparison between the two. But,
but yeah, I think if nothing, this gave Damian a little bit more. Let's go Damian instead of let's go Gunther. It's like, all right. If Damian wants to beat Gunther, I wouldn't be that mad about it. I think that's what. So I'll give them credit towards that. I think more people are towards Damian right now because of that promo.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely Gunther didn't win any fans over that he didn't already have with that promo. I mean, I think if you were, on the fence, you might have ended up on Damian's side after that promo a little, but
yeah.
We had Damian versus Bronson. No, Braun Strowman. My bad.
The monster of all monsters. Yes. Which was good.
We had Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark defeat the Party Girls.
This is what you came for.
I don't know if I came for that.
Well,
I don't know if I came for that.
Side note, I do love Zoe Stark's theme music. This is what you came for.
He's not. Listen, there's nothing actively wrong with Zoe Stark. There's just nothing for me that really stands out either. Like, she's solid, she's athletic, and she can talk a little bit. There's just nothing that I'm like, oh my God, I gotta see Zoe Stark. I mean, I just don't. I don't know.
She's just one, like, it's millions of wrestlers who are great in the ring, but they need a sounding of a voice box. So
I wouldn't call her great in the ring either. Like, I feel like she's mid in the ring and slightly below mid on the mic.
I would say okay, great is maybe a very, very big word, but I would definitely say good.
She's good in the ring. I mean, she needs some more work and more reps, but I think she's good in the ring. I think that's her best asset is her athleticism in the ring. That's for sure. I mean, I think she definitely needs someone to talk for her. And I don't know. Repackaging something to make her more interesting. I don't know how you repackage her, what you do, but something to just make her more interesting. She's not interesting. She's bland and forgettable.
We're still in the lab on that. Yes.
Adam Pearce extended Drew McIntyre's suspension.
You could have just apologized. That's all you had to freaking do.
Seth Rollins came out and cleaned Drew McIntyre out of the ring.
Let's not act like you weren't hitting refs like a crazy person during the after show of what was it? Clash. It wasn't Castle. What was the one? Money in the Bank. You did. You weren't elbowing people like a crazy person. You could have said sorry for that. Like, don't say, because this Drew McIntyre's thing. When Adam Pearce said say you're sorry, he heard say you're sorry for everything. No, just say you're sorry for that incident when you were elbowing people, talking about I'm gonna come to your house and I know your wife lives. I'm like, hey, sir.
But Drew's biggest fight of his life, though, had to have been when he was fighting, laughing, when Joe Hendry was making his entrance when they had their match. And I don't know.
You said his name.
But so Joe Hendry formed I'm Drew, a parody of I'm Blue from Eiffel 65. And the moment where he said, I have a girlfriend and she is so Drew, and scrolls up to her face, and it's a cutout of Drew McIntyre's face. Just they then
Hilarious.
pan to Drew, and Drew's just like, just I not to laugh.
Oh my gosh.
Love Joe Hendry.
We'll talk about him when we review NXT because he was on NXT again this week.
Mm-hmm.
Chad Gable called out Bo Dallas. The Diamond Mine comes out, and they put the beat down on Bo, and Bo's just smiling and laughing at the beat down. And then the Wyatt Six come out. They scare off Chad Gable, and then they scare off Diamond Mine.
This was, if I'm not mistaken, this was after they had the showing of the Pat McAfee show getting interrupted during the week, right? And he got the videotape from Eric Rowan. So we'd already seen Eric Rowan crying, right? Is that not correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you guys, just in general, before we move on, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of like the crossover with Pat McAfee and having the Wyatt Six do their little hacky thing on a real show like that?
So I love it. I think that was the plan, but something happened with Pat McAfee's family, so they had to delay it a little bit. But I do like it, okay, use your words. Everyone is scared to about, oh, this is going to be a spooky faction. What if it is? Like, I don't like. Yes, I think in wrestling there is something for everyone, and I think the spooky thing done right can be for everyone, right? But then I kind of get it, where it's like, how do you fit that into a TV show with regular people? So I kind of get it, but I'm like, let's not put too much emphasis on is it a spooky faction or not. But I do love them invading Pat McAfee's thing, because what's the word? I thought when they first did it, oh, they're going to do interviews on the Pat McAfee show, but just dropping off at his house is cool. It's different. So like I think we were talking about this last week, where it's like, how many times is the little zombie chick gonna come to the commentary table and present the video, and y'all have security say, "Hey, back the freak up." So this is a very nice change of pace on, yes, let's drop the video someplace else.
Yeah, I like the crossover. I love the reaction of the two guests that were on Pat's show at the time that were like, what the hell's going on? They sold it well. I assume they knew what was going to happen. I'm assuming they were told what was going to happen before the show, but they sold it well. And I like it because you get a lot of non-wrestling fans that watch the Pat McAfee podcast. And so now you get that crossover, and you're going to lure some people in. Here's the thing. There's 6 of these people, right? So, and we've only had
5
videotapes of 2, so 5. If we've only had videotapes of 2 so far, are we going to have videotapes of all 3 more too? Because it's already getting a little old to me. Like, no disrespect to Aaron Rowan, I understand it was heartfelt, all that stuff. You lost Brody Lee, then you lost Bray Wyatt. I get it, all that stuff. It's now the 4th videotape. It's like, are we going to get 10 more because you have 5 or 3 other more members? Like, I mean, what? How many more are we going to see in these? First of all, secondly, I mean, I guess there's, Uncle Howdy is not Bo Dallas, right? They're 2 different people. I mean, they're the same person, but they're 2 different people, right? They're split personalities, I suppose.
I'm here for it. I don't mind.
As of right now, I would say probably Uncle Howdy Doody is probably going to be his war paint when he goes to wrestle. He'll take the mask off and start wrestling.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. I mean, we'll see. The word spooky can mean a whole lot of stuff. Like, what exactly does that mean? I mean, are they going to be performing magic spells? Obviously, that doesn't work on TV. But just the dark. I mean, they're already spooky.
I don't know.
They've got the dark. They've got
Undertaker shoots lightning.
Yeah, I mean, and Jericho has the fireball, and sometimes they do work. I mean, the Wizard has the fireball. There have been a couple incidents where it works, but at the same time, a lot of times that stuff looks corny. So
I would say that I think we could all acknowledge that the pandemic of the Fiend and Alexa Bliss. Let's definitely not do that. Let's definitely not have people spitting out
goo, and and light fixtures just falling, and we're winning matches because the lights turned off. I think we can all agree. Let's not do that. That's a definite no.
Yeah, and I don't need any red ring matches like Bray used to do or pitch black matches. Let's just have normal matches, right? Like,
Yes.
I don't, yeah. All right, so the Wyatt Six came out.
Oh, yeah, you go. Yeah.
The main event. So,
So real quick, I haven't seen Bo wrestle in a minute, but that man can sell like a crackhead. Like I'm like, Lord have mercy. Like, he was just being ragdoll, and like him falling on his shoulder and stuff. I'm like, did you stretch? Did you do yoga before this freaking segment? Cause it hurt me. I'm like, daggone it. So that makes me hopeful of at least Bo Dallas in the match. It's gonna be great. All right, that was all.
Watch some clips of him being in the B team following around the Miz. Like, yeah, they used to bump quite often.
Like I said, I know I have no doubt it's just been a minute since I've seen him take a bump, but sweet baby Jesus, you don't have to go that hard, Bo. That's all I wanted to say.
I will say you can't give everybody the Goldberg treatment, but I will say that when you're trying to make somebody seem really tough and formidable, they shouldn't get their ass kicked for 10 minutes. Like, it doesn't make me feel like Bo Dallas is this big old scary guy. I mean, he's not. He's just, I don't know. Like, it doesn't have the, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I think it works because they couldn't put him down. Like, it's one thing if he was just being knocked off his behind, he just lays there. But you laughing like a crazy person, like the Joker.
Yeah.
No, we're going to stop this beat down and we're going to run. We're not going to stay with the crazy person. If you're your own coke and you can't feel none of this crap, or you're a crazy person that will not stay down. Either way, we're going to finish the beat down. Stop. No more beat down.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the Joker is that the Joker always loses, right? I mean, the Joker never wins. So
I mean,
it's
if that's your model,
continue.
then they to continue. Batman's been around for 50 years. The Joker's never won.
Right. Okay, so he took out a Robin, he took out Batgirl, and then he got them all captured, tied them up, and then broke up their family.
No.
Like,
What I say,
he's won before. It's just his goal isn't to like kill Batman. It's
exactly. He wants to do this dance forever, so it's never like he stays in jail. For some, he always breaks out of jail, and we always keep doing this. I don't like Peacemaker, but he actually had a good point of Batman I'm sorry, kids, close your ears. If he wanted a freaking pussy, he would just kill Joker and be done with it. But no, he keeps him alive, and we keep doing this freaking dance forever and ever and ever.
Please read the comic Batman: Death in the Family.
Like, until he dies, he will always break out of jail, and we'll always keep doing this dance. So no, he does not lose. It's to be continued. Until next time, kids.
So the main event, Ilya Dragunov defeated Sami Zayn via disqualification due to Braun Breaker.
Stupid Braun Breaker. I mean, I get it. It makes sense story-wise, and I understand. It was such a good match, and then it got ruined by Braun.
It was. And I am a Triple H fan. He is my boo-boo. I did not watch his Reign of Terror. That's why I love him so much. But word of advice, this can't keep ending in DQs with 3 of these surrounding the IC title. Like, somebody has to win. And I get it. We love Ilya. We love Sammy. But if you're going to put them in matches, someone has to lose. And that be a disqualification. Just lose. Like, you were bold enough to let Braun lose against Sammy, even though, like, yes, it was during a pay-per-view, but it was still a loss. Someone has to lose. So please, no more DQs, Triple H, please. Surrounding the IC title, no more.
I have a feeling that Braun is probably the next IC title holder, and then maybe Ilya after Braun. I don't know. Like, it feels like it feels odd with Ilya. It feels like they're semi pushing him, like kind of half pushing him. They put him in decent matches, but then he loses. Or I mean, I get they got the win here by DQ, but like I don't know. I was expecting more of a push for him because he's so good. Maybe it's his size. I mean, I hate to say that, but maybe that's what it is. It's. I mean, it hasn't been that
Whose
long that he's been on the
size?
main roster, so Ilya. Um, maybe I mean, it hasn't been that long since he's been on the main roster, so I'll just keep my mouth shut and see what ends up happening here. But I thought that he might have a little more rapid push already, just because he's so good. But
I think
I
it's more
remember.
so. Oh,
Uh,
you go, Timmy.
I remember us doing Enter the Square Circle, and you were like, I I thought Braun was bigger than that.
yeah,
Oh, he's not.
yeah, no, Braun is short. I didn't realize how short Braun was.
So I think more so Ilya and Braun came together, and it's more so who you're gonna push first. I feel that it's a matter of who gets the first rub, because I think they do love Ilya and they do see a future, but unfortunately, how he wrestles is like we already have a Gunther, Drew, and a Sheamus, and then what where we're going to put him at, Braun is kind of killing it. So I'm going to hold back and wait. Like you said, I think Braun gets the belt. Hopefully, we'll just have some time for Ilya to get better. I'm not down on his run, but I just feel like you're here, and there's a lot of other good people in your position as well.
And I can see that. I mean, I can see that comparison for sure. They're definitely different wrestlers, and there are less guys, I guess, of Braun's ilk at the moment in WWE, and a few more guys like Ilya. So I can see that.
Asking who gets the first rub sounds wrong.
We were just gonna. Well,
Only
we were just
you,
gonna try to. I was just gonna try to blow past that, but Sammy had to
only
make sure
you.
to note that. What's up, CWM? Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys.
All right, so that brings us to the main event of Raw. Um, what? Let's give Raw a grade for this week. What do you got, Anika?
I'll give it a B again. Like there is nothing actively like, this is stupid, or this is slow. I enjoyed it, even though it was a mixed bag of foolishness. I very much so enjoyed myself for a good. I ain't gonna say the whole 3 hours, but I'll say 2 hours and 35 minutes.
I'll give it a C plus.
Nah, of
I was
course.
a little down for Sammy this week because I think we all gave it a B last week, or B minus, if I'm not mistaken. We were all in the B category last week. I thought it was a little bit. I like the Rhea and Dom stuff, so I'm here for that, and I think that keeps it up a little above a C for me. It's like a C plus, B minus. I'll say B minus. I think it's right around there somewhere. Let's see. CWM's asking, can I keep you posted on W? I mean, if you hear something that you want to let us know about, sure. I mean,
And it's
we're happy to
accurate.
discuss it. I mean,
And
it's
it's
accurate.
accurate news.
And it's accurate. That's right. All right. So that brings us to NXT from the next night.
Yeah.
And opening NXT, we saw the Rascals backstage getting ready to come to the ring because they are together again. I don't know how long all three of them, I don't know how long the group is actually going to be here for on NXT. It'll be interesting to see if Wesley goes over and gives any kind of spot on TNA too. But they're coming to the ring, and then you see Gallus because we're going to get that match opening the show. Let's see. So they had a pretty good match. About halfway through the match, Joe Hendry. Vic says Joe Hendry's name, and Joe Hendry appears, and he makes his way out to commentary for the rest of the match. Ultimately, the Rascals get the win with Wesley with the stomp off the top. I thought this was really, really solid, really good. It's good to see the Rascals back together again. I enjoy them. Like I said, I don't know how long they're going to be here for, but it sounded like when they were talking that it sounded like they'd be here for a little while. They made the comment that we're back to a certain extent. That's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, against Gallus, I mean, I like this for the most part. I mean, there's only, so many 3-man teams for the Rascals to actually fight as a 3-man group, and Gallus is obviously one of them, so it works well. And Gallus are big guys they have a contrast in style to the smaller, faster, more up-tempo Rascals. This was 3.5, 4 stars for me. I enjoyed it a lot. What about you guys?
This is a match that could have been on a pay-per-view. PLE.
Man,
Yeah.
like, as someone who never seen the Rascals together, I saw MSK. I've seen tell me this boy's name because I don't want to be disrespectful. The third one,
Trey Miguel.
Trey Miguel. I've seen Trey Miguel by him. I think you know his nick. You know the nickname I give him, but I'm trying to be respectful. But I've seen Trey Miguel in TNA by himself, and he's awesome. I've never seen him together, and it is a burst of energy. I do love it. I'm like, okay, I see why y'all on the team. This is good. This is good. Not sure, like you said, not sure how long the TNA NXT crossover is going to be, but if you want to keep them on both, if you want to keep this team together and work something out, y'all could do that because it was a tons of fun. It was a lot of fun.
You should go and watch the clip of them with Rob Van Dam and Impact. Like that was a good one. There was also a big thing with Ace Austin on like Ace Austin wanting to date Trey's mom.
Okay. I might just do that. Yeah.
CWF says Booker T rejects claims of believing in Joe Hendry from Ringside News. Any thoughts on that? Booker T's funny. I mean, I for the most part, I really enjoy Booker T on commentary. He's very animated. I like him a lot. I like Chucky Quack Quack. I'm not the thing I like least about Booker is what he does during Trick's ring song. Like I hate the little ad libs in between. Yeah, oh yeah, get it. Yeah, like that stuff bothers me. But other than that, I'm all here for Black Snow, Booker T. And yeah, I mean, I don't, the stuff with Joe Hendry, obviously, it's all the work. And I'm happy Joe Hendry's here in NXT. I think NXT needs that little push. I understand that they've made the conscious decision to make NXT developmental again. And at the same time, if you want people to watch it, it can't just be all green wrestlers trying to learn the craft on TV. You've got to have some people there that know what they're doing. You've got to have some veterans or some young guys that have upside, have already created a name, i.e. Joe Hendry. I say young guys. I know he's not really that young, but to keep it moving, because you got to have high quality stars as well. So I like it.
Yeah, no. For Joe Hendry, I would say maybe 3 to 6 months. But I do say if you want to take him to the main roster, I would not mind that as either. So like I said, 3 to 6 months in NXT, TNA. But if you give him a contract and he takes it, main roster, just go, just do.
I mean, he's younger than Drew McIntyre. He's younger than Cody Rhodes. He's younger than Roman Reigns. Like, he's not old.
He's seasoned. He's seasoned just enough. Not overly seasoned, but just seasoned enough.
He's mid-30s. He's not late 30s. Like,
I mean, he's fairly new to wrestling as far as I know. I mean, the first time I saw him was on TNA like 2 years ago. So he hasn't been around on my wrestling radar that long. So even if he's 35, he's still young kind of in his wrestling years too. So as opposed to some of these guys that have been wrestling since they're 12. Now, maybe he has been and I just don't know about it. But some of the guys that have been wrestling since they're 12 and now when they're 30, they're already been beaten up for 15 years. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get that impression about Joe Hendry. So
Eric wants to know for a long time, but he's been in the UK. So like he's okay. If you don't watch the UK scene, you wouldn't have known him.
So there you go. Eric wants to know if NXT is going to do TV tapings on the road this fall and move away from the PC center for TV. What do you guys think?
I know they're touring outside, but besides takeovers, aka NXT premium live events, I would say no, and I don't want them to. I think you always want that show that has that stay at home one place feel to it, aka like it's not ECW, but I think one of the
NWA.
yeah, NWA, ECW, one of the beautiful things about those places is like, okay, we're here at the ... and you know what that means, basically. And I do love that part. So like I don't need NXT to travel.
Yeah, I agree. Real quick, just before, because I don't want to miss the question, CWM he asked if we think Roman Reigns comes back at SummerSlam. What do you guys think?
That's crazy. SummerSlam's August 3rd.
Yeah. 2 weeks away?
2 weeks away. I don't know.
How does this play into Survivor Series? Because that's where everything is leading up to after SummerSlam. So
first Bloodline versus New Blood.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do we get Bloodline versus Bloodline for the tribal chief spot?
If we don't,
don't,
what are we doing?
Like, if you get the Usos back together on Roman's side,
yes,
which feels weird and wrong,
yes,
you're still a sort of member.
Well, remember, like,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'll just say, remember that Raw series, and they Jay was warming up, and Solo and the New Blood was kind of walking in front of him, and Paul Heyman was like, So like, and remember, Jay and the Bloodline didn't like, I'm going to stop loving you. I'm just not going to be in this situation. I'm going to Raw. So it wasn't really like a bad breakup. It was just like, we need some separation. So
good. Sorry.
Yeah, that was it.
As long as Sammy Uso's running around, you always got a third Uso. It can always get Usi in this month. So you just put Sammy on the team with Roman and Jay and Jimmy.
Usi in this month, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely other ones. I mean, at some point, I think Zilla's coming. I mean, I don't know what that looks like before Survivor Series. I mean, right now he's wrestling in MLW, or he was in GCW. I'm sorry, this weekend. So I don't know what that looks like. I'm assuming at some point he's probably going to come. And there are a couple others that could, in theory, be part of the Bloodline that we haven't seen yet. So, yeah, there are people out there to pair with Roman Reigns. It would take a little bit of showing who they are and a little bit of build-up to get us there. But the question becomes, does that interest you? Do you want Bloodline versus Bloodline in Survivor Series for Tribal Chief position? I mean, does that move the needle for you guys?
I wouldn't hate it. I'm not even going to hold you. I wouldn't hate it at all.
So, Anika, WrestleMania, brother versus brother, Uso versus Uso. That didn't feel like a breakup to you?
No, it felt like two brothers fight. They were fighting. And the match was so bad. No, it didn't feel like a breakup. It was just like, we're going to have this match at Mania. That was it.
I mean, I don't, to a certain extent, the Usos have never really felt like a breakup, like they've broken up. To me, they just kind of moved on. I mean, they, maybe not amicably per se, but not also like, oh, I hate that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I can definitely see them getting back together and not being an issue. So, I mean, I don't know. The way Roman treated both of them during the Bloodline, for me, is more of an issue. Them willing to come back to Roman's side. But again, he's their cousin, and they have a long-standing history. And blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, I guess, if you accept Roman's bad apology, then it is what it is.
Real quick. If we could have just Dean Ambrose just acting like he didn't do nothing and ask himself, "Hey, why weren't you out there with me? What's wrong?" I was doing stuff, and now we're back together. If you can have Dean Ambrose do that and bring back the Shield together, you can have your relatives come back together to fight the New Blood.
So there's a couple questions here. I'll get to in a minute. We're gonna try to push through NXT real quick, and then we'll try to get to those before we do AEW real quick because they're just general WWE questions. So just hang tight, Eric and CWM, and we'll get to those. So next we had Joe Hendry narrating last week's episode and his appearance in the main event again along Trick last week, and which was a solid episode of NXT and main event. Chase U, they. Tia runs to the ring because Roxy's about to speak, and Ridge goes with her. Chase. Then we have. Hold on for just 1 second. I apologize. Okay. I watched it on Tuesday, and now it's Saturday morning, so I'm trying to remember exactly how it went down. And reading the notes I'm reading here are jotty at best. So I believe we had Roxanne in the ring, and then Thea Hale came out to the ring, and the two of them had a little face-to-face, if I'm not mistaken. And I thought that was okay. And then Chase talked to Duke Hudson about his opportunity against Obafemi tonight for the North American title. And Riley says that he's worried, that he was worried at first, but the Duke will win the title. First, back it up just a hair. Tia and Roxy, are you here at all for that? Does that move the needle for you? Do you like that at all?
Tell me who Thea Hale is.
She's the little girl from Chase U. The fact that you don't even know her, and she's the one that runs around at 100 miles an hour.
No,
always.
I do know who that girl is. I did not know her name. And you said Thea Hale, but mine went to the cowboy chick. So I want to be very, very clear of who
that's
we're talking about. Okay, see, that's close. Those two names are close enough. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. Don't do me like that. Those names sound familiar. Okay.
Both of their last names start with an H.
But Thea Henley, Thea something. It's two A's. It's a T and an H in there somewhere. But no, actually. Shut up! But no, I do love Thea Hale from Chase U. I didn't know her name, but I do love her. I did love the cute little story they had with her. I want to say Jessie James so bad. It might be her name, but I want to say, but yeah, I do love her. I do think that she's good in the ring. Has she calmed down yet, though?
No.
She did for a minute, and now she's back.
She's back? Okay.
Yeah, when she was with J.C. Jane, she was kind of a little toned down. Now she's back at Chase U, and she's ramped up to 100 again.
You couldn't even understand what she was saying. She was so amped up.
But in the ring, I do love her. And so I think match-wise, it's going to be good. But yeah, let's get her toned down just a little bit. Instead of on speed, get her on the ooh-wee, and then we'll be fine.
Ooh-wee.
Sammy's not excited, I know, about Thea Hale and Roxanne Perez. Tell us why, Sammy. Tell us why.
I like Roxanne.
Roxanne.
Roxanne rocks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily dislike Thea Hale. I just don't think she belongs in the main event scene for the women's title on NXT. To be fair, there's not a lot of meat on the bone for the main event spot in the NXT women's division at the moment. It's basically Roxanne Perez and Lola Vice, who already lost to Roxanne Perez at the Heat Wave recently. So, you have to do something. Roxanne has to have matches and feuds with somebody. I mean, and there's only so many warm bodies. So, to be fair, there's other warm bodies I would rather see besides Thea Hale. But Chase U is a big, intricate part of NXT. They're on every week. They've got a segment every single week, and Thea Hale is a big part of Chase U. So, I mean, I get why she's getting the spot. I mean, I don't.
All of the women talent is on SmackDown. But we have two incoming stars, Stephanie and Julia, which they're going to change the landscape of WWE.
And the Simone sisters, too.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't Roxanne mention both of them during this segment, too? Didn't she mention Julia and Stephanie coming? Somebody mentioned them. I'm trying to remember. Somebody mentioned them in a promo this week about them coming. So let's see. Then we had Roxy walk backstage. Thea Hale nearly attacked her, but Rich Hollins held Thea back. We're definitely getting Thea Hale and Roxy. Then we have Ethan Page in Ava's office. He's complaining, saying NXT has become an unsafe work environment. And Aura Mensa shows up right on cue. Challenges Page for the title. What were we going to say?
No, real quick. Yeah, if you didn't see in the group chat, Sammy, the Tonga twins were at WWE PC, so you might see them in NXT real quick.
I'm here for that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely here for that. Let's see. So Page says that he shouldn't be rewarded for his bad behavior and says no. Ava tells Aura he's not in the title picture and turns him down. Thank you. Finally, someone with some sense. Please explain to this guy. He's not in the title picture. He's not a main event star. Go away. Thank you, Ava. This was the best thing Ava Rain's done since she's been GM of NXT. Let's see. Aura says that the longer he runs, the worse it gets for Page. Ava says he should defend the title tonight, and Page says he'll do it against Dante Chen. Which, okay. Any comments on this, Sammy? Aura, Page, and Chen?
It feels like his title's very safe.
That is definitely a nice way to put it. Okay, I see. I'm mistaken here now. Okay, then we're talking about now. Okay, in the actual timeline, this is when Roxanne actually came down to the ring and did her in-ring promo. She asked why. She says Roxy asked what's it going to take for everyone to start treating her like champion she is. She says she defeated NXT's biggest badass in Lola Vice and should be getting her flowers. She says the NXT universe is literally witnessing greatness, and they gave the loser a standing ovation. Roxy said it should have been her, and that the fans don't deserve to watch someone like her. She says she's so good at 22 and hasn't even hit her prime yet. What's she going to be like in 5 years? She says nearly 13 years ago, Charlotte Flair had her first match and now is a 14-time champion, and she's going to shatter all of her records, Bayley, Asuka's, and all of those records, including Bayley, Asuka's, and Rhea's. So what pisses her off is that all the talk online about, here it is, Julia and Stephanie coming to NXT, they're going to wreck things. Roxy says, roll out the red carpet to the world because no one can compete with her. It's funny that Thea Hale is her next champion because she has much chance of winning tonight as Duke does against Oba Femi. And then Thea Hale comes out. So this is obviously Roxy talking about Julia and Stephanie Vicaire. Obviously, these guys are coming sooner than later now that we're talking actively about them in promos in the ring. I'm getting excited because the NXT women's division has been shaky at best for a little while, especially at the top end. So I'm very excited. I don't think either of them is going to be there very long, but hopefully at least it's decent while they're there. So anything else you guys want to comment about this, since we already kind of talked about it earlier, since I got my timeline confused? But
is Stephanie Vicaire gonna bring Chile chants from the crowd? Because I'm pretty excited for it. If the crowd's gonna start going Chile, 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 Chile.
That would be fun.
I'd really dig it.
Do you?
Nope, keep going. I'm trying to
think of how to word this. Do you think they come in at the same time? Okay, if you're Sean, you're HBK, and you've got Stephanie and Julia, they're both ready to go. How do you bring them in? Do you stagger them? You bring one in a month and then the other one the next month? Do you bring them in on the same show? Do you bring them in against each other, with each other? How do you bring them in? What do you do? What's your guys' fantasy booking on bringing them in?
I don't mind bringing them both in, a la AEW, when they brought in Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson. So I'm not totally against bringing them both in together, right? How you bring them? Because the thing about Julia is we all know she's coming, right? Even she was in the crowd for a NXT takeover. So just a matter of when you're going to do it. I don't know. Right now I do love the idea of, yeah, let Roxanne Perez just be bragging. No one can top me. No one can face me. I beat everybody, and you bring both them mugs in. It's just like, so which one you think you're gonna be? If either, I do love that. So yeah, bring them both in right after an NXT takeover.
What about you, Sammy? What do you think?
Kind of spoiled for riches because like these two women are like top 5 women in the world, not just WWE, in the world. And another one of those spots belongs to Mercedes Moné, and another one of those spots belongs to Stardom for uh, Miyu Iwatani. Like so, like you have the best talent coming into NXT, and it's like just spoiled for riches. It's the only thing I can think here. Is like who do you even make the champion? Like choosing between the two of them, like because they're both very deserving of being the champion. It's like,
Yeah, I would definitely have Julia be champion before Stephanie. That's just me, but I do think that would be, yeah.
I mean, they've definitely both given up a lot in theory to come to WWE, i.e., being mega stars in their own companies where they, come from. So it's a big move, and I would imagine WWE wants to make a splash with both of them and make them both feel special. I'm not sure how you do that with one title on NXT. And it'll be interesting to see when they actually both make it up to the main roster, if they both end up on the same roster, if they split them up, and how that looks. But my guess is that you're going to see probably a feud between the two of them. That makes sense to me on NXT, maybe including Roxanne Perez, some sort of triple threat type of thing at some point. But I'm imagining they're going to be battling for that NXT title. I don't know. I can't pick who should win that. That's why people get paid the big money, I guess, to try to make those tough decisions. Because I don't know. I mean, both of them, in my opinion, feel like they're deserving of it. And with the amount that they've given up, and don't get me wrong, you're paying them a lot, and money, goes a long way. But, I mean, I wouldn't want to have the discussion with either of them about how I'm putting the other one over first. So, I'd be Sean or Triple H or who's ever having those conversations with Stephanie and Julia about who's going to go over first or what's going to happen. But let's just say I'm excited for what's coming. Let's put it that way.
I mean, with all due respect to Kalani Jordan, if you want to give Stephanie Baker the women's American title and let Julia be the NXT women's world heavy, like, you can do that. You can do that and just let them run roughshod over everybody. You can do that if you wanted to.
Isn't this the same person who was complaining about Ospreay getting the international title and said that it was beneath him?
I never said that.
You didn't say that?
No, I didn't say that.
I might have said that.
Oh.
Check the tape.
I may have said
I did
that.
not.
I may have said that. We'll
It
get to
probably
that
was
here.
AEW.
We'll get to that when we get to Dynamite here right after NXT. But let's see. So Kelly asked Kalani backstage about her win over Saul, and she says she had to pull out a crazy move to retain her title. She mentions Julia and Stephanie and how she's going to keep upping her game. Wendy Chu is behind Kalani and walks off. So now, this to me, this is foreshadowing. This is writing on the wall. 2 people in this week's episode have specifically mentioned Julia and Stephanie. They're coming sooner than later. You're now actively talking about them in NXT on the show on a regular basis. They're coming sooner than later. So, and then Wendy Chu's behind Kalani Jordan. What do you think about Wendy Chu versus Kalani Jordan for the North American title? I'm assuming that's where this is heading.
In ring, that'd be a good match. That'd be a good match. How we get there, how we build it up, I have no freaking idea. No clue.
What about you, Sammy? Any comments on?
So NXT recently gave us the best women's match they had that they could offer us, which was Roxanne versus Lola Vice.
Mhm.
As of now, like there is no match that they can offer us that's like a big match until those two arrive.
Well, so Slammiversary is tonight, and Jordan Grace said some big words about if you don't want to avoid spoilers, watch tonight. So I'm not sure what that means, but I'm going to assume that's going to be more NXT people coming over to TNA. What does that have to do with the women's division? I'm not sure, but I do believe that I'm from what Jordan Grace said. I'm hopeful that we're going to start kicking this, sending people over to the other company, and we're going to kick this interpromotional thing up 2 notches tonight. And so that's what I'm hoping for.
I
Uh,
really think it
I'm
makes
hoping
Slammiversary.
it's Wendy Chu. I feel like her gimmick would actually work well in TNA.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It makes me more excited for Slammiversary. I mean, there's some matches on the card that are already going to be really good, and on paper it looks like a good Slammiversary. But the crossover with WWE, well, with NXT specifically, it has made and is making TNA a little more exciting at the moment, in my opinion. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. There's a little bit of air of unpredictability, which I like. So
Yeah.
let's see. We get a recap of all the events involving Brooke Jensen because he has a match coming up here in a little bit against Javon Evans. But before that, we have Kelly backstage with Lola Vice talking to her about her heat wave match against Roxanne. Lola says she left everything she had in the ring, broke her hand, and Roxy couldn't tap her out. Then Fallon and JC Jane come, or Fallon, JC Jane, and Jasmine come in to mock her. And JC says to go back to MMA. Um, and then says ATT would welcome her back. Fallon calls her a rookie. Lola says she's not going anywhere. JC Jane says she's a fighter, so go fight. Lola says she's looking at her opponent, and JC Jane looks worried. I've mentioned this before. I really think they were hoping that when Cody came to NXT and gave JC Jane his dashing mask, that was going to give her a big rub, and I don't think it's worked at all. The character is not any better than it ever was. It's not moving the needle any more for me than it ever did. In fact, it's even more annoying, honestly, than she was before to a certain extent. So I don't like JC Jane personally. And out of these four, Lola Vice is really the one I like the best. So, what do you guys think about this little segment?
I agree with you complicitly.
Like, here's the thing about Cody Rhodes' mask, right? It wasn't really about him wearing a mask. When he broke his face, he went back crap crazy, and that was the most entertaining thing in the world. So Jesse Jane just wearing the mask. You're just being another pretty girl. Oh my God, I broke my nose. No,
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes, dashing Cody Rhodes, breaking his face and going back crap crazy. And even after his face was fixed, you're talking to that mask, a crazy person. Like, if you're gonna get the rub, do the whole redo the whole story. Go back crack crazy and just start talking to the mask like you're a crazy person. Like
The fact that she wears the mask over her mask, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very excited for Lola versus JC Jane. I mean, it is what it is. Again, they're, even when you bring in Stephanie and Julia, they're really only two women. That NXT women's roster is very down at the moment, even when you bring those two in. And so, I mean, you still have to have matches. So, and it is developmental. So you're going to get JC Jane, although she's been there for feels like she's going to be an NXT lifer at this point. I mean, we'll see if they ever move her to the main roster. She's been on that show for 5 years now. It feels like. I mean, at least. I mean, it seems like. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, some people are lifers. It's just how it is. And then certain people get called up, which I'm like, you sure about that?
Exactly. Who's the girl? We know the same girl. Ali. What's her name?
Kiana James.
not Keanu James. Wait, when Vince came back and he wanted to take control, and the old girl was not ready. What's her name? Start with an
Zoe
A.
Starks.
Now Zoe Starks. Y'all are saying word. Y'all are saying people that no. She beat. There you go. She beat Natty in 3 minutes. Like she beat her record or something. What's her something? Aaliyah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Aaliyah. She was there the longest, and no offense, she should have stayed there. No offense. I have more hope for Jesse James than I have for Aaliyah being on the main roster. I'll say that.
Yeah. We had Javon Evans versus Brooks Jensen. Briggs is with Brooks. Brooks isn't pleased. Let's see. Javon Evans got the win in a little under 10 minutes. Sean Spears came out to get involved at the end because he's got this ongoing thing with Javon Evans, but he's actually here to confront Briggs, which I guess is okay. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to Sean Spears versus Josh Briggs. Let's see. Brooks tells Briggs not to waste his time with him, and Evans dives onto Brooks, rolls up Brooks for the 3 count. So obviously, Sean Spears helped, or his involvement helped Brooks get the win, or Javon Evans get the win here. This new Brooks Jensen, since he supposedly had broken away from the Fallon Henley stuff and the stuff that was going on before, I mean, I like it a little bit better. The jury's still out. We'll see. His little last week tete-a-tete with Ava Rain, I thought with Ava was okay. I mean, he apologized basically for what he had done and all that stuff. I'm willing to give the dude a chance because I do think that he's, there's something intriguing about him, but I don't know. What'd you guys think about this? Any comments?
Again, well, we're right now we're in a waiting to see stages. So, but like you said, he has enough for I'm interested.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I lost my notes disappeared on me. Sorry. Sammy, did you have any comments on any of this at all? On Brooks Jensen versus Javon Evans? And Sean Spears getting involved? Sean Spears, Josh Briggs?
I will say I liked what Josh Briggs said to Brooks after, not by beating up Javon, man.
I did think this was the best that Brooks has looked in the ring. I thought he looked better wrestling-wise than he did in the past. Josh Briggs is obviously really talented. Sean Spears is talented, so I'm here for that. Let's see. We had the D'Angelo family. They're playing cards. Charlie Dempsey walks up, talks to Tony. Tony says, "Don't do that. Don't come over and come over here and talk to me." He doesn't like that. Charlie talks to him about the trunk move to write off Kemp last week, and Tony jokes that Miles was talking all about it. Charlie says that he's still coming for the Heritage Cup. Tony isn't surprised. Charlie said that a witness may have seen him, and hypothetically, it may have been a her. Tony tells him to take care of it on his own. The D'Angelo family is solid. They're one of the bigger factions, obviously, on NXT. Tony D's the Don. I think he's overstayed his welcome a little. I think he should have been at the main roster already. At the same time, I don't have a problem with the family at all. And I'm a huge Charlie Dempsey fan. As you know, I drafted him and took a lot of shit for it from Chase. So I'm happy now to see Charlie Dempsey getting involved with the D'Angelo family and maybe, because getting a little bit of rub from them, maybe getting to show a little bit more of what he can do personality-wise. So I'm here for that. And I hope that it gives Charlie a little bit of a rub.
And also, for me, it'd be fine putting him on the main roster if you're bringing Julia in. Julia can be the Donna and run the family.
Yeah.
but this is the only thing. I want people to go to the main roster, Tony D'Angelo style. I do want people just to get not gonna say taken. Yeah, that's the perfect word. Taken care of, and then they appear someplace else. I do think that's the perfect write-off. So I don't want that to be let go just yet in the next thing. That's the only thing.
Because what's the family going to do without the Don? And the family isn't ready to go to the main roster. Let's be
yeah.
No. I mean, Stack and Luca probably never get to the main roster, honestly. I mean, those guys are, we'll see if they go beyond NXT, if they're even, destined to stay there once Tony's gone. It wouldn't surprise me if one of the two of them went with Tony to keep up the D'Angelo family on the main roster. Maybe you get Tony and Stacks go together. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that Stacks belongs on the main roster, but it wouldn't unless you're going to repackage Tony as something else. I don't think the solo Dawn works. I think in order to be that Dawn character, you've got to have a couple of henchmen and some muscle with you. So if you bring him to the main roster, either you have to change him, repackage him, or give him some guys. It doesn't have to be Stacks and Luca. I mean, if they're not ready, it could be other guys that you feel are ready, but you got to give them something, I think. I mean, I don't know. Dante, go ahead. Were you say something?
I agree. That was all.
Yeah. Dante Chen's backstage and is asked by Sarah about getting his match tonight. Chen says he was surprised, but this is why he's ready. He knows Ethan Page thinks he's an easy first challenger, but he's learned when you get your moment, you need to maximize it. The question is, do you guys like Dante Chen? Does he do anything for you?
He's fine.
He's fine. He's one of them people where they're still trying to find his niche. When I say niche, the character, the thing that makes him gravitate towards people. Like I remember him when he first debuted, and talking about his dad and how about his dad. And I think something happened where he got hurt, unfortunately. So he's still getting his sea legs back. On hey, everybody, remember me? I was here years ago, but like I said, stuff happens. So he's still in there you go. He's still in the developmental stages of his career. So I'll let
No, I mean, I agree. Obviously we talk about NXT is the developmental show, so you're always going to have some people on there that are developing right in front of your eyes. He's one of them. I think he's developing okay. I haven't seen any major growth, but I haven't seen what looks like a plateau either. It seems like he's slowly getting better. And they've given him a little bit more opportunity. So, I'm not opposed to it. We'll ultimately see how it plays out. I think he's got some potential. Let's see. Trick is backstage, says he doesn't recognize himself without the title. He's talking to Ilya, who says that when Trick beat him, he set his mind to conquering new worlds. But the question is, what Trick wants. He wants his rematch with Page, but Page won't give him one. Ilya says they're a different situation. Trick hangs up and approaches Pete Dunne, who says to figure it out himself. Then we had Ethan Page versus Dante Chen for the NXT Championship. Ethan Page wins in a little under 5 minutes. He with the ego's edge. I didn't think there was a whole lot to say about this. Unfortunately, I understand that Dante Chen is not ready to be in a main event, or not even main event, but a world title match yet in his career. At the same time, you do want to, you have something invested in him. You've been pushing him a little bit. You've been giving him promos. He's had some matches over the last few months. I think you're somewhat high on him. I feel like you got to give him a little bit better showing here. You can have Ethan Page win, but let Dante Chen have a little bit better showing. If your goal is to push him a little bit and ultimately have him be a bigger star at NXT, at some point he's got to have at least some good moments. And it wasn't like this was a squash, but it definitely was an Ethan Page showcase. And to be fair, Ethan Page is here and Dante Chen is here when you think about levels to wrestling at this point. But if you're pushing somebody, you should give them a little bit better outing than that. What did you guys think of this match and how they presented Dante Chen and so on here?
Well, they presented him fine.
Like, I do agree, like a 5-minute match. Come on. couple, like especially as the main event. You could have given him way more than this, but I do love what
Did he need more?
10 minutes for the main event of your show. 10 minutes. A standard 10 minutes. Yes, that is what you. That's a good given. 10 minutes. Like no offense, but has anyone seen Speed on Twitter? The WE show has 3 minutes ever been enough like to get the match going and people invested? No. So like yes, you need some time to let a match grow. But I do love Ethan Page being this. So for me, Ethan Page being this champ is to help your other developmental wrestlers, right? But you have to give them time. So I love Ethan Page as the champ. But if this is going to be his role as champ more often than not, then you got to give them you got to give them time. And 5 minutes is not enough time. It's not.
Yeah, it's also I assume most people know who he is, but it's also to reacclimate Ethan Page to WWE fans and get him, before they move him to the main roster. I hope when they move him to the main roster, they actually give him some premier storylines because he's so good. I mean, I'm such a huge Ethan Page fan, so I think he can do it all. Aura attacks Ethan after the bell, but is put down with the DDT. Page talks some shit and poses with the title. He walks away, but Aura attacks him again, rolls him into the ring, clothesline. Page gets a boot. Aura spins out. He lays out Page and covers him for a symbolic 3. Obviously, Aura Mensa's not going to be your next NXT champion. If he is, I'm going to have a real fucking problem with the show. So, this is what it is. I don't understand. I don't see it. I'm not sure what they see in Aura to be pushing him here. They're obviously doing something. He's not going to win the title, but they're obviously trying to give him some rub here from being in a program with Ethan Page, and I'm not sure I see it. There's other people back there that I think would be better in this spot than him, but it is what it is. I mean, you guys see it? I know, Sammy, you're not an Aura Mensa fan. Anika, do you see it? I mean, does it make sense to you?
Right now, him being the main event, no. I would actually question because I know he was in NXT UK before he got here. So if anyone can say how he was in NXT UK, because I know people go through what's the faces character changes and development. So I wonder if he was better in the UK than here, right?
But is it about like? Because they don't have other wrestlers from his country, so they're like, if we have the one, we need to try and make him look good so we can get more people from his country to join too.
Oh no, because you have this whole roster of NXT UK wrestlers, right?
He's not from England.
No, I'm saying no, the NXT UK roster. Oh, so you're just saying bump NXT UK, just like people from his country, from people from another country, period. Yeah. I was just saying. So, I don't think so.
Because like they kind of treated the last guy from his country kind of dirty. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh no way, Jose.
No, Cesaro, Claudio.
Oh, see, like I think put too much stank on it because I'm not thinking about his country. I didn't even know he was from Sweden. So so for me, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I watched NXT UK when it was on, for a while. I watched it for several years. I don't know a lot about the British wrestling scene before that, but I don't really remember him on NXT UK at all, and definitely not being a big star. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the love affair is with Aura Mensa. I don't see it, but they have a love affair with Metaphor. At least they did up until recently, which I didn't get either. So let's see. We got a montage video hyping up Duke Hudson, running through his time in NXT from a gambler to MVP of Chase U. He says tonight he becomes the NXT North American champion. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen, but we will see. Gallus is backstage and says, any other night they'd win. Joe Coffey said if he hears the name Joe Henry one more time. And what do you think happens? Of course, we see Joe. Joe's theme plays and he slips in. Gallus tells him to go back to Scotland. And Joe says He'd be jealous too, but he's sticking around because he likes it. Gallus says when WWE fans think of Scotland, they think of Gallus and McIntyre, not some flash in the pan. Hendry makes I forget what the line was, and walks off. Jimmy, you remember what the line was, or Nika, you guys remember what the actual line was?
I do. Well, you know what? I can look it up real quick.
I mean,
Well,
not
like
that it's all that important. I just don't remember what the actual line was. But Joe Hendry made some side comment, and then
It's such a bad thing that the WWE universe gets a Scottish wrestler that they're allowed to cheer for. You know.
oh, that's right. Yes, that's correct. That's right. Which is, funny. Joe Hendry's great, right? I mean, we're all in agreement that Joe Hendry's great. We're all happy he's here. It feels like he gets a chance. TNA, even though it's a smaller promotion than WWE, and NXT is under the WWE banner, obviously, umbrella, obviously.
NXT gets way more viewers.
Yeah, but it feels like TNA has bigger stars and names on their roster, so it feels like Joe Hendry gets a little lost on at TNA, whereas when he comes to NXT, he's a huge dog, a huge fish in a small pond. Let's put it that way. In NXT, it feels like he makes a bigger splash and impact in NXT than he does on TNA.
Impact pays more.
Yeah. I can't imagine that at some point they wouldn't offer him, money to be on the main roster. I mean, the dude's amazing and he's over. I mean, so I bet who knows what ends up happening. We had Izzy Dame versus Tatum Paxley. This was one of the down spots for me. I didn't think this was good. It ended just a little over 4 minutes. Tatum Paxley got the win. I'm not a big fan of either of these women, so I don't really have much comment on this. Sammy, any comment on this?
My brain spaced out. Who?
Tatum
Paxley. Got it, man.
Tatum Paxley versus Izzy Dame.
Oh, it was Izzy Dame. Like you said, Izzy Dame. My mind was like, stop caring.
We had Wendy Chu hand Tatum her doll from last week. Tatum laughs and Wendy leaves. Okay. Thea Hale asks Ridge why he stopped her, and he points out if Thea had broke Roxy's arm, there'd be no title match. Duke walks in with the rest and fakes as if there's too much screaming, yelling, and thanks Ridge for getting the match. Duke says Oba is the man and he can be beat. Oh, is a man and he can be beat. Chase says, fuck yes, he can. All right then. We'll get there. Obviously, just foreshadow. We'll know who wins in a few minutes because it's the main event of this episode. But stopping here when you're watching the episode, I'm thinking to myself, nobody believes Duke Hudson's beating Obafemi. There's no way Duke Hudson's beating Obafemi for that title tonight. Not only that, but I don't even think it's questionable. In my opinion, it's like 100-0. Like at least with Wesley, there was a little bit of like maybe they might give Wesley the spot here and let him do something crazy. But with Duke Hudson, there's just no way. Let's see. Cedric Alexander and Ashante are walking backstage, and Ashante is distracted by the NXT women. Ashante the Adonis. He walks up to Lash and Chikara. Lash isn't interested, but he says, "This isn't Chase you. It's Chase him." And he was interested in Jakara anyways. Aura walks in and plays cock blocker, for lack of a better word. Ashante smooth talks and Lash gets a metaphor out of there. Cedric says Ashante is going to get in trouble. And Ashante says he loves trouble. I was happy to see both these guys back here in NXT. Again, NXT needs people, veterans that are solid workers that know what they're doing and can put on really good matches and have personality. I love Cedric Alexander. I apologize. And Ashante, So, yeah, I'm here for this. I like it. Again, why is Aura in every segment? So now he's in the Ethan Page segment. He's in this segment. Like, I understand because they walked up to Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend, who are part of Metaphor. So I guess in some respects, it makes sense in that regard. But still, it's like the whole pushing of metaphor through everything. It's like, okay. There's no other women that potentially these two could have walked up to so that we have a different situation as opposed to getting them involved with metaphor. But tis what it is. You got any comments on this? Cedric and Ashanti back in NXT?
Good for them. Doesn't hurt having more warm bodies around.
Where do they belong in the booking? Should either of them be in the main event picture competing for either the North American title or the NXT World title? I mean, I think Cedric Alexander is at least good enough to be competing probably with Obafemi for the North American title.
Ashanti the Adonis is not.
Probably not.
But like, as a tag team, they're upper mid card in NXT and they're lower mid card on the main roster. Like,
yeah. I would agree with that. Let's see. We get Lola Vice versus JC Jane. Lola gets the win in under 3 minutes. This was definitely a squash match. Again, what are we doing with JC Jane? I don't understand. So you had Thea Hale with JC Jane for a while. First of all, you had Toxic Attraction that didn't really work. Then you split them up. Then I guess JC Jane is the one you like over Gigi Dolan. For whatever reason you made that choice, I think Gigi might have been injured. Maybe that's what made the decision for them. But you have JC Jane. She's kind of hovering around doing nothing. And then she gets her nose broken. And then you have Cody Rhodes coming, give her his mask, which in theory is supposed to give her some sort of rub. Otherwise, why do it? And now you're having her be squashed out to Lola Vice. And I get Lola Vice's main event and she's a top notch, but what are you doing with JC Jane? I don't understand the point. What's the goal?
JC Jane won the angle, but Gigi won the match.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yes, that's true. I just don't understand what they're doing with JC Jane here. It's like 1 minute they're high and pushing her, and the next minute they're squashing her. It doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make sense to you? I mean, what?
It's this sort of weird situation that they're in of where, oh, she's one of the best talents on NXT. And it's like, oh, but she still sucks.
Right. Yeah. Which you can't be both, right? How can you be one of the better? I guess you can if the talent pool is that bad.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I guess that's something. But man, that feels like a real oxymoron. She's great. She's one of the best women on NXT, but she really sucks. Like, it's like, what? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, so needless to say, Fallon Henley attacks Lola after the bell and beats her down. Jasmine joins in. Lola fights back, but the numbers game is too much. Soul and Carmen come out for the save and clear the ring.
She's likely top 10 women in NXT. She's not good. She's probably top 10.
I mean, this seems to maybe be looking like we might get a triple threat with Fallon, JC Jane, and Jasmine Nix versus Soul, Carmen, and Lola. I don't know if that does anything for you. I mean, I don't know.
Carmen doesn't.
Carmen doesn't. Being involved, that doesn't do anything for you.
But Soul Ruka is pretty legit. I dig her. And Lola is the second best woman on NXT right now.
Any comments, Anika? We were talking about JC Jane getting squashed to Lola Vice. I was complaining a little bit. I was on my soapbox for a minute about just JC Jane in general and how they feel to be on a real roller coaster with her, and I don't understand what's going on. Does it make any sense to you?
This is a very difficult word to describe. No, more so it feels like after what was the group name?
Toxic Attraction.
Yeah, Toxic Attraction.
It feels like after Toxic Attraction, they don't know what to do with these girls individually. And
I dig Gigi with Ariana.
Oh, Gigi was always the breakout star of the group. I think we could all say that she was the Dean Ambrose of the group, and we're just waiting for her to go out on her own. But it feels like the way they ended the group and they just stopped, right?
it really is like, what do you do with these girls? Now with Jessie Jane, I'm not sure, but with Gigi, I would say definitely just bite the bullet and let her go up to the main roster. But yeah, they're still trying to find the best way to present her.
I don't think Chi-Chi's good enough for the main roster.
So what do you mean by good? I think character wise, she will bring something to the main roster that will be entertaining. In the ring, yes and no.
What's her character? Biting a rose and shopping on Hot Topic, being annoyed at people.
All right, personality.
That is her personality.
Where she's just a fierce chick that don't care about what anyone says. Yes, I love that about her. Yes.
That's what you got from her? Huh.
You've been real iffy about NXT. I don't know what. Maybe you've been watching NXT too doggone much, but you've been real iffy about people.
I like
snippy.
I think there's some. I think she has some charisma and some talent. I think she needs a lot of work in the ring still. The actual in-ring work, I think she still needs a lot of work. It leaves a lot to be desired. And I feel like she's been around for a while, so maybe that's never going to come. I do think she has some personality. I agree with Sammy right now. The way they have her packaged isn't working. But I do think she does have some personality. And I think if they package her, found the right thing for her and the right character and package for her, she could at least be entertaining potentially on the mic and as a character at some point. But I don't know that her in-ring work is enough to get her to the main roster. I have a feeling she's either an NXT lifer or leaves and goes somewhere else to do something else at some point. That would be my guess. But
I mean, the only thing she could really go is Impact.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. She go to the Indies and do whatever. I mean, a lot of people break away from, a major company, get, some shine in the Indies, and are able to come back on a different level than they left. I mean,
I'm gonna be for real. I don't think she's good enough for the Impact Women's division.
Dang.
I mean, I'd have to go back and really. I mean, man, I don't know. That's tough. I mean, I think she's probably okay enough to be at the bottom end of anybody's women's division. She's definitely not good enough to be at the top end of anybody's women's division. But
before NXT, her biggest call to fame was being the tampon girl.
No, I'm talking about that. Come on, in NXT, and for people who did not watch that, I didn't. No, I think she's been doing fairly good on NXT.
If she was to get away from NXT and, go to the independents or go somewhere where she could potentially show that she's a better wrestler than they've allowed her to be, and we could see some in-ring skill, maybe she could raise her stock a little bit. But I don't know that it's there. I mean, I'd have to see it outside of WWE to make an assessment in an area where she doesn't have to do whatever they're telling her necessarily. So I don't know how much of what we're seeing is them limiting her, them whatever, because of her booking and stuff, or if she just is really limited. I have a feeling she's probably limited and her ceiling's only so high as far as in-ring goes, but I need to see that outside of this environment to make that assessment. So
one of the girls that come to mind is Ty Conti. She was not that good in NXT, but she came over to AEW and something. Blah, blah, blah. So sometimes it does take a fresh new set of eyes. I'm not saying she's going to be the next Ty Conti without Sammy. Without Sammy Guevara. But I do think it's possible.
I think the biggest problem with her is that NXT was too loaded at the time. She didn't have opportunities to really present herself.
And that's why I hate that they got rid of Mandy Rose. I do feel Toxic Attraction as a group was good as a group. Like, as a group, they were main roster ready as a group. But now you broke them up, and now you got to find out everyone's different personalities and how to make them better.
Yeah. Let's see. Tatum is backstage with Wendy's doll. Kalani walks up and says she's sure Wendy was looking for it. Tatum says it's hers, and does Kalani want to play? Kalani says they're too old for dolls and walks off. Tatum drops the doll and grabs a more Kalani-looking one. I don't have any use for the doll stuff at all. I don't know about either of you guys. This is weird for me. I don't know.
That's not really Alexa Bliss-ish. in pandemic era. Yeah.
Ethan Page is asked if he's upset with how tonight turned out. He says upset with what? He retained his title before Aura ruined things. He's asked about the pin, and he says Aura didn't pin him, and none of this bothers him. Clearly it does. Again, more Ethan Page, Aura Mensa. Anything you want to say here that you haven't said earlier about these two or this interaction at all?
Well, like you said, even we would love even to have a storyline. As of right now, this is the most obvious storyline. You attack Metaphor behind stage, but we don't have to stay here long. Let's have this match against Mensa and get it done with.
And for me, this would be so much better if Noam Dar was healthy and he was here in the Aura Mensa role than Aura Mensa. I mean, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Ethan Page and Noam Dar would be a banger. I'm here for that. That gets the needle moving for me. But Aura just doesn't do it. He just, in my opinion, he just doesn't do it for me. We get OTM out the mud versus the OC. This has been ongoing mostly because Jada Parker and Mi Chin had been feuding. The OC got the win here, a little under 6 minutes. I'll say it again. Like, I understand the OC are veterans and NXT needs strong veteran hands. It doesn't make sense to me to have teams that it feels like you are attempting to try to push or at least grow their stock a little bit, lose to guys that are never on TV. Like, I don't know how you do it, but OTM should be winning here. They're the team that's supposedly on the rise and is on TV fairly often. It just feels weird to me. I don't know. What do you guys think of this?
OC is working as gatekeepers. Like, if a team beats them, then that team is then in line to either challenge or become the tag team champions. That's how I view it.
And I'm not mad at the whole gatekeeping thing, but you have to let them win a couple of times so they can at least be a threat. So the gate isn't not open wide open. Like, at least let them win a couple of times so it'll at least be a challenge for people to try to get through the gate.
If the fans get behind them, then they will. If the fans don't, then they won't. And then another team will be coming up to challenge next, which will likely be the Rascals. Let's be real.
Yeah, I mean, I hope just because I'm done with this, I hope this is the end of this feud here, but for some reason I don't think it is. The No Quarter Catch crew are jumpy as Ren Sinclair walks in and wants to be part of the group. They say no, and Ren says that she's not the only one who saw what happened. She's kidding, though, and Ren jockeys with Miles and says she's going to wrestle her way into the heart and the group. No Quarter Catch crew still needs a new name. The NQCC, even in short, abbreviated form, is
too many freaking letters.
It doesn't roll off the tongue. Even you're right, it's too many letters, but even the letters don't roll off the tongue right. Like, you can have 4 letters that roll off the tongue right. It just doesn't. NQCC just doesn't. That there's just something about that just doesn't.
Like, so if Close Quarter Catch Crew is a better name, you're in trouble. Like,
yeah.
Ren Sinclair is solid. I question adding more people to this group because I don't know that we need this group in the first place. I don't think it's really doing a whole lot. So adding more people to it seems to me to be weird. I feel like they should break it up, honestly. I don't know what that means for some of the guys, for some of the other guys like the Miles Bournes, but Charlie Dempsey needs to be on his own. And Damon Kemp is gone, right? If I'm not mistaken. So
he is.
I guess they need to replace him, and maybe that's what they're going to do. That's the attempt with Red, but I don't know. It feels like Damon Kemp's gone. Charlie needs to be on his own. Miles Bourne can go away, and Ren Sinclair can be on her own just as part of the women's division. I don't think we need this crew. So, what do you guys think about North Dakota Catch crew?
Maybe have Miles Bourne and Dempsey go with the Dawn over to the main roster. Backup.
I would love to see, me personally, selfishly, I would like to see Dempsey with New Catch Republic. I'd like to see him team up
Yes.
with Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. Like that would be ideal for me.
Nika
But
wants Regal's sons all together. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
let's see. Eddie Thorpe is DJing a party when Lexus King tries to mess with him, and it turns into a brawl. So next week we get Eddie Thorpe versus Lexus King, and next week we're gonna get Ora Mensa versus Ashante the Adonis. I guess any comment on Eddie Thorpe and Lexus King? I mean, does this do anything for you?
It's cool.
Yeah, you like DJ Eddie Thorpe?
Like, I don't hate it. No, I don't hate it. I do feel like it had the streamlinement. It's like I feel like you have letting this man be too okay. It's gonna sound weird, but as a WWE wrestler, you're putting too much on his personality. I'm Native American. I'm a DJ. I'm that. I'm like, hey, let's streamline this a little bit. I'm not saying you can't be more than one thing, but this is all the things you're trying to put on him is distracting.
Honestly, a team I'd like to see is Charlie Dempsey with Trent Seven.
Yeah,
I mean, he was on NXT last week.
I wouldn't mind that at all.
He was across the pond.
Let's see. Come on, my phone is acting up here. This brings us to the main event. It is Oba Femi versus Jesus. Why am I drawing a blank on Duke Hudson? Thank you. Of Chase U for the North American title. Oba Femi does get the win here and retains the belt. I thought this was a decent match. I thought for the first time, really, Hudson looked kind of the part a little bit, finally. Like, he has the look, right? He's a bigger guy. He's got the look from a physical appearance standpoint. I feel like the ring has always been the issue, and I feel like here it finally looked like it might have clicked a little for him. This was definitely, in my opinion, my favorite or best Duke Hudson match that I've seen. And some of that's a compliment to Oba being able to have, bring Duke right, raise Duke's level a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I thought this was solid for a main event. I mean, if you're gonna have Duke Hudson in the main event, I thought this was as good as you could probably do. I mean, and Oba got the win. What'd you guys think?
Yeah.
We all figured he was going to get the win.
Sure.
This is more show about showcasing Duke Hudson more than who's going to win or lose, honestly. And like he said, if you're against the right big man, you should either be great or you suck. And he didn't sink. Duke Hudson didn't sink. So what do we
still hate Duke Hudson?
I didn't hate. What are you getting this information from?
I believe you called him generic wrestler number 5.
Because y'all talking about, I said that because you're talking about, he didn't need to chase you. Yes, he did. But I'm sorry, the poker player Duke Hudson was not a character. That was not good. That was not good.
Generic wrestler.
He had no personality being the freaking poker player. I do love him better and Chase U. Now, coming to I will say this. I don't see it because the main roster is the main goal. I don't see him being in Chase U going to the main roster. I will say that. Like that, it does look. Chase U is definitely an NXT character, not a main roster character. So if you go to the main roster, you do have to do some. But yes, I do think Chase U would step up.
Anybody else in Chase U going to the main roster?
No,
that's what I'm saying. But I do think that from poker player to Chase U is an upgrade. So with that being said, I think we all do think that Duke Hudson is someone who could do it. But if he's on the main roster, he can't. No offense, he can't be just Duke Hudson. He can't. I'm sorry. He can't be just Duke Hudson. I'm not saying he should be Chase U, because like I said, that is an NXT character in my opinion. But he can't be just Duke Hudson. He can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So he's been here before, right? Wasn't he here before under his real name as Brendan Vink?
No,
Like,
I
I
think
feel
it was
like
Duke.
he
Huh.
was he was somewhere before on a main roster, a show on a premium show as Brendan Vink for a while. I don't remember if it was NXT or maybe it was TNA. He was somewhere for a minute as himself. But this isn't. He's not new. He's been around for a long time. Um, and I don't for it to feel like it's finally clicked and he's been on NXT now as Duke Hudson for a while. Because you remember he was Duke Hudson way before he had to stint with Chase Hughes. So, and
Yeah.
he's been with Chase Hughes now for a long time. So, no, Chase Hughes definitely not a main roster faction. Duke Hudson, yeah, you can't take the Chase Hughes character only with Duke Hudson. It doesn't make any sense. The only way it makes sense is if you move the faction up, and the faction's not moving up. So if you move him up, you have to repackage him. And I think he's been around too long and already had chances that if it's finally now even clicking a little bit, it's already too late, probably. I mean, I don't know, but
March 25th, 2020, Brendan Vink and Shane Thorne lost to Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch.
okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so he's had his, he's been here before. They obviously repackaged him. He's 34 years old, it says already. So like, I don't know. He's probably at his peak, and he might get called up to the main roster. But for me, I don't think he's going to ever make a splash on the main roster. I don't see that happening.
Duke Hudson or Grayson Waller?
Grayson Waller.
Grayson Waller.
They're
More
both from
personality.
Australia. They're both about the same age.
But Grayson
Yeah.
Waller just has that energy of
He
like,
does. Grayson Waller has that it factor that Duke Hudson just doesn't have. I don't necessarily like the douchey character that Grayson Waller portrays, and maybe in real life, the dude might be a dude, I don't know, but he has personality, he has charisma, he's at least fun and enjoyable to watch. Like, I love to hate the guy, whereas Duke Hudson just doesn't move the needle at all for me.
Have you seen anybody do a shoey that wasn't a douche?
No.
I've never seen the shoe until it went to Australia, honestly. So
Well, you didn't hang out with fraternities.
no, I did not. And Grayson Waller does have a big frat energy. He does.
He does. What was I going to say? I was going to say Oba. Duke Hudson necessarily hasn't been the biggest name on NXT, but I think this is another decent notch on his championship reign. There's only so many big warm bodies for him to fight as far as big guys go, and Duke Hudson's one of the bigger guys. So it's either fighting a lot of smaller guys, not that everyone's Wesley size, but nobody's Oba's size right now on NXT. Let's put it that way. Even the bigger guys, the Josh Briggs, the Duke Hudsons, aren't Oba's size. So he's going to tower at this point basically over everybody on that roster. So you got to get him in some matches with some of the bigger guys. And unfortunately, some of the bigger guys still need some work. I think they should be pushing Josh Briggs more. I think he's been a little underutilized on NXT myself. But
I said
they're
it before,
doing more with them now than they were. But
with Oba, you might have to Keith Lee him, like have him win the main title and then just drop the North American title.
Yeah.
And have him do a ladder match to determine who the new North American champion is.
Yeah, because at this point, there isn't anybody that's positioned to realistically beat him for that title. I don't see it.
And Obafemi versus Ethan Page, like as much as I like Ethan Page, I'm putting money on Obafemi in that match.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Hendry versus Obafemi for the North American title would be fun, but I still don't. I mean, I think that Oba would get that win probably. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, let's see. So after this match, we had Briggs and Jensen. They're walking out. Jensen says he lost because of Briggs. He wants a match with Briggs next week, and Briggs says he beat him last time, and he doesn't want to put him through it again. Brooke Jensen says no disqualification and drives off. So we're going to get Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs. It sounds like we're finally getting the ultimate fallout between these two and the dissolution of any kind of real friendship, which is fine with me because I'm ready for them to go on their own. Brooks is definitely the heel now through this he's had this heel change now, right? And Josh Briggs is kind of toiling. I'm not sure why Josh isn't getting a bigger push. He can talk, he can wrestle, he has a look. For me, there's some sort of disconnect there, but I'm obviously missing something going on backstage. I don't know, but I like Josh Briggs a lot, and I feel like he should be getting more action here, but that is what it is, I guess.
Ultimate Fallout would be a good name for a pay-per-view.
That would be a good name for a pay-per-view.
I don't hate it.
All right, so that's the end of NXT for this week. I thought ultimately it was better than Raw for me this week. So, and I gave Raw a B-, so I'm going to give this a B. I thought it was more interesting for me than Raw was. What about you guys? What are you giving NXT?
I disagree. I'll give it like C-, D+, C-, D+. I'll go C-.
Spicy.
I'll go C-.
Just a barely passing grade this week.
I'll give it C- thanks to the Rascals. If the Rascals weren't there, it was going to be a D+.
I kind of have to agree because this like why are we taking so long on NXT? And it's just like I think the main thing is also it was too many things going on that I didn't care about. At least with Raw, they had like a narrative story. Like so if some goes out of place, at least they're gonna come back to the main story that I care about. It was too many stories I didn't care about. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's tough right now because the real big narrative story is Ethan Page and his deal with Ora Mensa, and Ora Mensa is not very exciting. So there is that is a bit of a downfall at the moment. But I don't know. I enjoyed the week. So obviously we're at different ends there. So before Anika cracks into Dynamite, let's just answer these couple questions because I said we would get to them. Let's see. Eric Tate wanted to know, what do you guys think Raw will look like on Netflix in 2025? I'm assuming he's talking somewhat about the production. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what he means by what it will look like. But what do you guys take from that? Or what do you guys think in regards to what to expect from Raw on Netflix?
Hopefully better stories.
Well, two things. Commercial free because it's only on Netflix, so that's gonna be a thing. So I will like all the people who are in Europe who says they love AEW because it's like during the commercial breaks. Like, all right, we're gonna see how y'all feel with no commercial breaks.
Are they still going to be 3 hours without commercial?
I was just about to ask that. Without commercial breaks, are we just going to get a solid 3 hours of Raw? That sounds miserable. I'm sorry.
I would probably say no because the 3 hours on Raw is commercials, right? So yeah, and so commercials pay for the show.
Like it's like an hour of commercials when you're watching Raw.
So
yeah, it'd be interesting to see if it goes down back to 2 hours, maybe. I mean, that'd be interesting, or 2.5. I wonder if they'll have a set time or if it'll just kind of adjust week to week depending on what's going on storyline wise. I mean.
Right, so that might be a thing. And also, we'll see, but it's on Netflix, right? So the whole PG thing, I think, will be not thrown out the window, but a little bit more leeway. Like we're not on.
What are you doing PG for? Like, there's no
Exactly. So there's no more muting of Pat McAfee, or a lot more people are doing. The Rock, final boss, the cussing, and
Pat McAfee said "bitch" this week.
Let me ask you a question. You know, all of us started as wrestling fans as little kids.
Yeah.
Does wrestling have a I'm not E.G., I'm not prude, I don't censor my kids, but do we have a responsibility to not give them, knowing how many kids there are, something that's too graphic? Like, how graphic can you get when you have this many kids watching this program? I mean, what's right and what's wrong?
One thing, when I was like preteen, like I watched wrestling by myself. My dad had quit watching wrestling, so like when I was a teenager later on, like Edge's live sexcapade that he had, like my parents weren't in the room for that. All right. So for instances like that, it's fine. But also, like, my parents were like Bible Belt Christians. Like, I remember I had a Disturbed CD and they took it away from me for the language in it. Like, I don't feel like parents are really like that anymore.
So I'll say this, right? We were attitude babies, right? So when we were watching wrestling, it was way worse. More so, I don't want, like Eddie Murphy said it best. I don't cuss to cuss. I cuss because it's important to the joke. So I don't want y'all to just be just flailing around and just doing stuff for no good freaking reason. I just want it to be in what you call it. I just want it to be important to the story. Like case in point, when it was the blood. Well, yeah, Cody Rhodes versus Roman more so, and then the Rock bloodline. You can't have the Rock going crazy in a promo and then have Cody come back and he's just a shy little stupid baby face, don't say anything impactful. So that's where I'm at. I don't want to go straight back to the Attitude Era. We're just showing booties for no good reason, and because Girl Gone Wild was the best selling video, and we want to try to match Girl Gone Wild. I just want something that's close. It's important to the character, whoever it is, and important to the story.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's every parent's choice, and you can turn it off if you don't want your kids watching it, and that's how it should be. Every parent should have the right to choose whatever they want to do and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as long as it's it is what it is, and it's on the parents, that's fine. I just
Kids are
you
growing
know
up watching Family Guy. Like,
well, and not only that, but especially in this day and age when kids have cell phones at younger ages and access to the internet, even not on cell phones, iPads or computers, whatever they're using. I mean, my 3-year-old grandson already watches YouTube videos. We had to switch him from YouTube regular to YouTube Kids because every once in a while I got him watching some bizarre shit. Like, what are you watching? Like, you shouldn't be
Yeah.
watching that at 3 years old. So, I mean, we're definitely in the technology era, and they're going to see it anyhow. They're already going to know all this stuff anyhow. So you can't shield them too much. At the same time, and I've mentioned this before, I've watched wrestling with my grandson a couple times, and he's only 3 years old. We watched it, I think, the first time at 2. And from the minute it hit the TV and they started wrestling, he immediately started jumping on me and wanted to wrestle with me. So you can't tell me that they don't imitate what they see. And you can't tell me that when he was in the living room yesterday in front of the whole family who was over for dinner saying motherfucker because his grandma said it and everybody's laughing, that kids don't imitate what they see. So I do think there is some level of responsibility from the media to at least understand that you do have children watching and that there does have to be some sort of a line at some point, I think. I mean, they definitely crossed that line in the Attitude Era. A lot of times, for
shout
me,
out to
I
the
was already
teachers
in
in the late '90s who had to deal with all the kids coming to school going, "Suck it, suck it,
yeah,
suck it."
exactly. And I was already an adult at that time, and it made me I was like, whoa, let alone being a kid. So, like, I don't know. I mean, it's a weird line for me. So I hope that they don't take it as just a blank check to do whatever they want to do, because I don't necessarily trust that. Um, I don't, WWE now, to be fair, I'd have to see the numbers, but my guess is that Netflix is in the billions in value and money, and so is Endeavor at this point. I don't know that WWE or that Netflix has the money to give them a better production level, or that the production on WWE is going to change at all. They have a tried and true method that they've been doing for a long time that's been very successful, and that's why Netflix ultimately wants them, right? So
Um,
I don't change the wheel too much. At
I
the
think I
same
read
time,
somewhere that Netflix has never had a profitable year. They've always
oh,
spent more than they brought in.
interesting. Um, So, I mean, my guess is, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You're bringing them in for a reason, and they've had to try. WWE has a tried and true product. So, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know. I'm a little nervous about it. I don't, Charles Barkley made a comment about basketball and how you can't be it can't all be money driven, and that you can't take the NBA playoffs and finals, let alone the regular season, and put them simply on streaming where everybody has to pay an exorbitant amount to see them. You owe it to your fans to leave them in a medium where almost anybody can afford to watch them, if not for free, close to free, depending on where you can find them. And even though wrestling is different than the major sports, I do feel a slight little bit like putting it from, USA onto Netflix. Now you have to go get Netflix to see it. I mean, and you have to have Peacock to see it, and you have to. And it's. I mean, don't get me wrong. You still have to have some sort of cable subscription to see it, even on USA. I get that, but and Netflix isn't, the cost of Netflix doesn't necessarily exceed, say, Sling on the cheapest level, but at the same time, it just, I don't know. I worry about things just becoming too expensive. Everything going to pay services that are too expensive.
It makes it available in more homes because Netflix is international.
That's definitely true. That's 100% true. And more people have Netflix than they probably do. You're going to get more people that are thumbing through Netflix because they're Netflix people that come across it, that watch it, than you would just stumbling across it on USA, if you're not whatever. So
because the way TV is now, like, you have specific things you watch. Usually you DVR the things you watch, and you're not thumbing through channels looking for something to watch. Like, you have like things on your list that you watch and you're just trying to get through them.
Yeah. Do you guys think that Netflix will have some sort of, I mean, other channels have in the past, some sort of involvement in either storyline creation or creative in any way, or input on whether they think a storyline is good or bad? I mean, Netflix has their own movie. I mean, they make their own movies and shows too, originals. So they obviously have writers and stuff.
I would hope for is more crossover.
Okay.
Like how Liv Morgan had the whole like Chucky thing where she got killed by Chucky. Like, maybe there will be more opportunities to do stuff like that.
What do you think, Anika?
I don't think they'll have it, because like this will be basically their first actual, like, their real endeavor into live TV. No offense, they do not know a doggone thing about live TV. Case in point, Love Island reunion. So I don't think I don't think they're going to put their hands on something that they can see it's working. It's a million people watching Raw without them, right? So I don't think they're going to put their hands in the cookie jar so much.
Yeah. So there's another question here that kind of juxtaposes this question. And the next question is Jordan from Jordan, and I'll put it up in just a sec. I walked away for a second. But he wants to know what, in turn, what SmackDown will look like in 2025. With Raw going to NXT or to Netflix, SmackDown is going to be staying, right, where it's at. Oh, no, it's not. It's going to, remind me of where it's going? To USA. So how do you think it changes the look of SmackDown from where it's been to USA?
I mean, USA has had WWE on it for the last 30 years. Like,
I don't see there being a difference, especially because I remember SmackDown was on their partner, the Sci-Fi Network, on Tuesday, and I didn't really see a difference. So I don't think there will be that much of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. I don't think there'll be a whole lot of difference. Again, WWE has a tried and true method. They've proven they're successful. They bring in ratings. If I'm a channel, I bring them over because I like what they do, not because I want to try to reinvent them to do something else, right? I mean, that's the whole point. Come over here, do what you've been doing everywhere else to bring me the ratings that you've been bringing them. So I don't see any kind of reinvention of the wheel, and I don't imagine that WWE board, Endeavor, whoever it is making those decisions, is really anxious to reinvent the wheel. So I can't imagine it's going to be a whole lot different. One last real question, then we'll break into Dynamite. He said that Jinder Mahal made some comments about a huge red flag moment at the end of his WWE run in 2024. It's from No DQ Wrestling. I'm not familiar with No DQ Wrestling, so I don't know about that. And
I know of No DQ, but I don't keep up on the news.
And I don't know what, I mean, just Jinder comments on a huge red flag. I don't know what the red flag is. I'd have to look for this article or this to make a comment on it. I mean, I'll comment in general that I was never the biggest Jinder Mahal fan. That has nothing to do with whatever he's talking about here. I can't imagine that anybody backstage at WWE, when Vince was in charge and John Laurinaitis was there, that all of them didn't see big red flag moments in a lot of respects to a lot of things. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's talking about those kind of red flag moments. But again, I don't know what he's referring to, so it's hard to make a comment. Blues here. What's up?
Yeah.
We've already been here. We've already been here for
Got fingers down.
probably too long, but thanks for joining us as it is.
Oh, well,
All right.
Blue's here for the best part.
AEW Dynamite from, that's not the right date. It's actually the 17th. I thought I fixed that, but let me fix that real quick. So, Miss Anika, you want to lead us through Dynamite from Wednesday?
Yes, and I'm going to try to make this brief because no, I mean as quick as possible, but it was a good match, and they're going to make this easy for us because we opened with the International Championship match between Will Ospreay and MJF, and this actually went on for a full hour. Quick question: did y'all ever? So watching it live, when did y'all know, or if y'all ever thought it was going to go for an hour?
I didn't. It took me by surprise, and I was just like, because like I had lost track of time. Honestly, I was enjoying the match. I was enjoying the moment. God, that match could have been on a pay-per-view. Like that is for me a match of the year contender. Like I was telling ALW before, these are two guys that are so different from each other, but yet I'd call both of them perfect wrestlers. And they're so different from each other. They don't fit the same mold, but they're both apex, top of the game, top of the industry. And like I couldn't ask for more.
What do you say, ALD?
I mean, you know, I thought I still think it was a little odd to open the show with it. I feel like it should have been the second hour and the end of the show, but that is what it is. That's just nitpicking. The match itself was perfect. Like Sammy says, both of them are amazing at what they do. They're both at the top of their game. They're both in their primes at the moment. I mean, Will Ospreay's had the best bunch of matches over the last 3 years of anybody I can think of ever. I mean, in the history of wrestling, when it really boils down to it, Omega, and then Danielson, and then that. I mean, MJF. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of 5-star plus matches, however you're ranking them, that he's had. The time didn't register to me until Tony Schiavone had said we're 20 minutes in, and then it was like, oh shit, it's been 20 minutes already. And then they kicked it into even a higher gear, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't think we could go any higher. And then the last 40 minutes went by in a blur. And the fact that me personally, I tend to not like endings where you have what I would call a perfect wrestling match and then it ends with a shenanigan. But it's so perfect here because it's so MJF, and this is exactly how it had to play out. It's, in my mind, it's really the only way that MJF, even though he's so good, can get that slight edge on Ospreay, who's a little bit better, maybe. And so he's got to use that thing at the very end when he can't do it just on his own, and it's so perfect MJF. And I thought they did it perfect. Honestly, I thought we were about to get a draw. And I'm glad it ended the way it did, and we didn't get a draw. So, not that I have a problem with draws, I just didn't want to see another draw. So, and yes. I thought that the Dynamite Diamond Ring finish worked perfect. There was nothing I would change about this match. That being said, I do think I'd have to look back at Ospreay Swerve again. I have to look back at some of the other matches from the beginning of the year before I declared it match of the year, because we've had some amazing matches this year. But man, it's right there. I mean, it's almost a perfect Dynamite match, that's for sure. I mean, you can't ask for much more. I mean, and the little things, both these guys are so good. I was telling Sammy in the beginning, like the little things, just MJF. There was a spot where MJF countered Ospreay, ran up the ropes and stopped and wiped his brow, like, whew, I'm glad I got away from that move. Just those little tiny things, just those little pieces of animation that both of them are so good at, bring so much to the storyline and so much more depth to their character that it shows how great they are. I mean, yeah. let's just say AEW, I don't care what people say about the ratings. You can keep that stuff. From a wrestling perspective, AEW is in a very solid spot at the moment. I mean, in my opinion, there's no match on WWE you can put together that can equal the matches they can put together in AEW. There just isn't. That's just my personal opinion. There just isn't. So
No. So I hate this because it was kind of spoiled for me. I went in a group. I went in a what you call it? I went on a watch along, and it was after the match, and all I asked was, "How was the show? How was the show?" And I don't know why that says to someone, "Oh, the show was great. This is what happened." No, I'm going to watch it later. So it was spoiled to me, and I wonder. And like you said, both of y'all are on the right on the match. So the hour didn't affect you because I knew it was going to be an hour. I kind of felt the hour more, so I did not like that. Now, did y'all know that World Championship matches is an hour time limit draw?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. So
for non-title matches, I believe it's like 20 or 30 minutes.
Before a championship match, did you know it was an hour time limit draw? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
I did not know that.
They used to do the 30-minute draws because wasn't Omega and Danielson a 30-minute draw?
Well, that wasn't was it for the title?
Yeah, that wasn't for the title, right? Was it?
I'm not sure.
I thought it was.
Was Kenny?
Jesus.
Kenny had the belt at the time.
Yeah, Kenny had the belt.
Yes, he did. He did.
Okay.
So the whole the time limit is working to the match. I didn't know about the time of the draw, so I'm like, no. So I don't want to be a wet blanket, but yeah, the match being spoiled for me kind of affected how I looked at the match. I do not like hour-long matches. Maybe if I watched it live, it would have been a much more easier ride. But I already knew what was going to happen, so it really was like, oh God, why y'all make this an hour long? But
I felt like it just zoomed by.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't see it spoiled, but it wasn't spoiled completely for me. But I did see a headline before I watched Dynamite, which is my own fault because I waited until yesterday to watch it. Because actually, I watched all 3 shows yesterday because I was hoping they'd be fresh in my mind for this morning. It didn't really help with NXT. I still couldn't remember anything I watched yesterday. But so it's my fault for waiting. But I did see a small headline that said something about Ric Flair used to go an hour on a regular basis. AEW has done it 4 times. Is it too much? And that was right after Dynamite. So I knew in my mind, it didn't say MJF and Ospreay go an hour. But I knew they were wrestling this week. They were talking about an hour-long match. So in my mind, it connected, and I thought, oh, Ospreay and MJF must go an hour. I wasn't 100% spoiled or sure, but that's kind of at the same time when I watch, or even at the time when I was watching them, especially now when I go back and watch them retroly, the hour-long Ric Flair matches, they felt like an hour. They were slow and plodding. He took his time. They did a lot of rest holds, a lot of holds to waste time. This didn't feel like that. This moved. This was constant action all the time, even in the spots where they did have a little bit of rest, where they would have a choke for a minute or something. I felt like there was still enough action to keep it up. The only problem I had with this match, the only critique I will make, is they had that spot that every match seems to have now, and that's my critique about it. Every time you get 2 good wrestlers in a big match where you want to have a lot of close 2 falls, you have one person roll a person up in like a sunset flip, and then that person counters, and then that person counters, and then they roll around the mat back and forth, countering those 1 or 2 counts for like 10 of those. And everybody does it all the time now in all the big matches. Men's, women's, it doesn't matter who it is. And it's getting played out to me. Like if you do it once in a while, that's fine. It looks cool. When you do it all the time, it starts to be a little too much. And I didn't think, honestly, even despite how great both these guys are, I thought that one particular segment where they exchanged those came off a little clunky for me. They didn't do it the best that I've seen it done. So in that regard, but that was my only critique of the match. So, other than that, I thought it was fine, and I'm all here for it. AEW is hitting home runs all the time at the moment. So,
So so even though it was kind of spoiled, I still did have a good time with it. Uh, the little, like you said, the little indie window with MJF is what makes an MJF match great. Like I'm the smartest wrestler, and then bam, Blade Runner. I do love those little parts of the match.
Yeah.
And MJF wins. He wins the international championship. All right. So afterwards, and then like last little MJF pun, they give him the African mask and he takes it down. Easy dub, easy dub. I'm like, shut up! You are so stupid in the best way possible. All right, and that again,
Uh,
that was the first hour of Dynamite. What was you gonna say?
just one thing real quick. Tony has made it a point, we've talked about it, that he really wants to make all the titles feel equally as important. And I think this proves that mindset. The fact
Yes.
that now MJ Ospreay's held this title, now MJF has held this title. It doesn't matter who you are. You can hold any title. Every title is a main event title, and anyone can hold them all. So I like that. I mean, I'm here for that. I mean, I do think, unfortunately, it does limit opportunities for a lot of the guys that are lower down the rung, because if you don't have titles for them, what shots are they getting? They're just wrestling each other for nothing. And the main event guys are going to dominate at the top of those title brackets, whether it's a world title or whatever. But at the same time, I do like the idea of every title feeling equally as important.
That's why I like the Attitude Era, because you can't tell me the Intercontinental title wasn't as prestigious as the World Heavyweight Championship. European title, it has ups and downs, but it wasn't just, or the Tag Team Championship. That was, everyone went for it. So I did love that about, and I do love them bringing that back. And next we have again, that was the first hour of AEW, and that's kind of hard to, what you call it, go after, honestly. But they tried. Backstage segment, they have officially announced that the Acclaim is on Team AEW for Blood and Guts. There's no daddy ass. So I will take the AEW team of Swerve, Darby, Mark Briscoe, and the Acclaim. That's enough. But what do y'all think?
Well, I was just going to say, I thought you'd be very disappointed with this, because you made it a point, I think it was last week or the week before, to say, if it's the Acclaim that they pair with Mark Briscoe, I'm going to be pissed off. So in this spot. So I thought when they made this announcement, you were going to be more upset about it. I'm here. I don't have a problem with it. Like you said, I mean, I don't mind Billy Gunn at this point. I do think the joke, or the whatever's maybe, overstayed its welcome a little bit. At the same time, I like him.
Scissor gang rise up.
And I like the Acclaimed. I'm happy for them to get another, what feels like, spot in a big match, and a warmed up again, kind of a push again. So I like it myself. I was just surprised you weren't more upset about it, Anika.
My frustration has happened over the course of last month. So I have accepted it is what it is. Now the counteract I said was last Blood and Guts, we had Daddy Matthew and Cool Hand Ange. And Cool Hand Ange gave us the awesome pic of him almost escaping the cage and him going upside down and bleeding. So if Anthony Bowen or Matt Casper give me one of those shots again, that same one, but something just as equally crazy, then I'm all for it. And like I said, Darby, Swerve, and Mark are in there as well. So it's like, okay, 3 out of 2 ain't bad. This should be at least a decent match. I still would have loved if they would just have stakes on it. Honestly, it's like, what? Tell me again, why are we going?
Nice ribeye.
Right? Like, why are we going into 2 cages just to beat the crap out of each other? I get it. Yes, we all love where we're working, but I'm not going to go to. I'm not going to. You're going to lock me into a cage just to prove that I like where I'm working. I need an actual reason. And us just proving that we like where we work is not enough reason to do this.
Yeah, and I mean, I like my job too, but I'm not going to go defend them against an invading horde of, whatever. Yeah, that's that.
But it is what it is. All right, so next we have a learning tree segment, and he said some stuff, Merso, like, why won't y'all listen to me? People are getting hurt. And then it gets better because Minoru Suzuki comes out, and it is official. Murder Grandpa versus Jericho next week for the FTW Championship. That should be a very fun match. Yes. Any thoughts?
Man, I kind of have a different opinion on it than that. I mean, I like. Okay, let me rephrase that. I love Minoru Suzuki. I think he's extremely entertaining. He's a beast in the ring. I love watching him wrestle. I'm so completely done with Chris Jericho, and I understand that he can still work in the ring for the most part. His wrestling still is, at minimum, a high mid card quality. So I get it, and at the same time, I don't get it. I'm tired of Chris Jericho. This match doesn't really do anything for me unless I get to see Minoru Suzuki just kick the shit out of him, which I don't think is going to happen. I'm assuming Big Bill and Brian Keith are going to get involved and help Jericho get the win, as they do every week. So, I don't know. I don't like the idea of feeding Minoru Suzuki to the learning tree. That doesn't really feel very good to me, but I guess we'll see what the outcome looks like next week in the actual match.
I was hyped for the match, and then I realized that, Suzuki's going to be losing. And then
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course he's losing.
If I had to, there's a little stinge of hope, though. 2080 that Jericho wins.
I mean, if I thought that there was a chance that it was simply Jericho versus Suzuki and Big Bill and Brian Keith weren't going to be there at all, then yes, I think Suzuki gets a better chance, but there's no way. I mean, the three of them, it's basically 3-on-1, and you're going to see that. I mean, you're going to get that. Unless Suzuki brings some people with him. I mean, hey, if Suzuki brings Lance Archer or someone with him in his corner, all the better. I'm here for that. That would be interesting. But yeah, right now it sounds like a 3-on-1 right now, and that I'm not necessarily here for. So, and honestly, Jericho's funny, and I do think it's advantageous for guys like Big Bill and Brian Keith to learn from a veteran the caliber of Chris Jericho. I'm just tired of Chris Jericho. I never liked him. I guess I've liked him more in the last couple of years than I ever liked him before, and that's not saying a lot. So, I'm tired of him. I'm just ready for him to go away altogether.
No, if I keep saying it, and I'll say it till the cows come home, if this gets over Big Bill and Brian Keith, then fine. We'll go through it. But that's only if those two get over, not just being the reason Jericho's on my TV.
Exactly.
The learning tree reminds me of a song.
Which song is that?
To sing, yes.
I can go ahead and do the lyrics. We ain't doing drive-bys. We pull up like, hi, guys.
Oh my!
That's cute, bro. All right. So next is the backstage segment of the CEO versus with the EVPs. Mercedes Moné wants to thank the Elite for giving her protection for her match against Nyla Rose. 250th. Britt Baker's not going to be here. So, yes. And then Okada was going to whisper in Matt Jackson's ear. And he's like, hey, the Rainmaker wants you to do your little dance. Like, oh, I can do that. CEO, got to go. And Okada was like, oh, it's so hot. If y'all give me Mercedes Moné and Okada being a tag team, yes, please. I am here for that 100%. We all said that this should be this should be a thing where the Mercedes CEO and the Elite EVP become a thing. So I'm glad they're doing it for us now. If they take, I don't know where it goes. It was a nice little backstage segment, but yes, give me Okada and Mercedes Moné as a tag team. I'm all for that.
Which is funny because we figured that way back when with Adam Cole that Britt Baker would be the first female member because of Adam Cole.
We're thinking this.
Adam Cole's not in the Elite anymore. Instead, we got Okada, and Okada's bringing Mercedes in. It's like, yeah.
And I would love for them to touch on that because I was thinking the same thing. But like you said, let Britt just go to the EVP for a good time. Oh, because now Adam Cole's hurt again. You don't even know me. We're not cool with each other anymore. Just say stuff I would love they touch on that just one good time, but I don't need it. But that would be kind of cool for me. And then we'll have Mercedes versus Nyla Rose. This is very sweet because Nyla Rose is on the first ever Dynamite, although sweet isn't good enough because we don't need her for an exhibition match. Can y'all just push Nyla Rose, period, because she is great. Case in point of this match, the best.
What do you mean?
Not like when else have you saw Nyla Rose on Dynamite and when?
I mean, it's been a while. Were you saying that like she should have been winning like a title?
I just want her on a good program on Dynamite. Like it's been a minute since she's been on Dynamite, and then the last time, so they had her in the Owen Cup for that one match. There was no build up to that. It was just that it was Statlander. Yeah, it was just Statlander beating her. Then after that, we didn't see her at all. And Nyla Rose not being on Dynamite is a crime. Like, why is she not more on Dynamite often?
In 100% honesty, since she lost the AEW title, she's never been at the same level again. They haven't pushed her to that same level again, and it's a crime. I mean, the woman should be regularly competing for whatever the biggest women's title is in AEW.
Because she's a great wrestler and she's hilarious. Like that spot with her, and I think Mercedes was trying to DDT her, and she just says, "Have you lost your mind?" Like those little moments are MJF-esque, and they match better.
So I went to Cage Match. You got Nyla Rose like November, October, September, August, July.
Doing what?
Dynamite.
What matches? In what year?
2023. From July to November, she was on Dynamite.
Facing who?
All right. Let me just. Britt Baker, Hikaru Shida, Chris Statlander.
All losses, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably. She did. And she did dark matches too.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that she was on, I mean, unless she was injured, the fact that she was only on for 6 months out of the year is an indictment in and of itself. I mean, the reality is listen, they made her champion. She was the first AEW Women's Champion, and then second. Then they got Then they got a whole bunch of flack because of who she is, and I think they got scared, and I think they backed off. I think they've decided they don't want to deal with that, whatever they get, the backlash of having her in that big of a position, and I think it shows. And as a result, she's been pretty cool ever since. I mean, she has her moments here and there, but she hasn't stood out or had a big moment since then. Not in my opinion. Not equal to what she deserves.
It's a weird situation because, like, with Impact, like, they do, like, intergender matches, so like no one there would ever care.
Right.
But here, like the closest we've had was mixed tag team matches, like when Kenny Omega did a dragon suplex on Penelope Ford. That's really the closest we get. And that happened on international waters, so it doesn't count. It's in international waters.
Yeah,
everything's legal there.
Like, and especially like a lot of people are out and hurt. I don't see why Nyla Rose is not more so on my TV in a good program, not an exhibition match to get someone else over, in a good program where she is strong, where she is standing strong as a wrestler.
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Who you thinking? Like Serena Deeb?
Yes, no offense. I think Nyla Rose versus Toni Storm would probably be a much more entertaining match. Well, build up into and then a match than Serena Deeb. No offense to Serena Deeb, but y'all Serena Deeb, y'all know she can't talk. So stop making her talk.
You want Toni Storm versus Nyla Rose? I don't feel like those are two things that play well together. Like
I'm saying
I don't think it'd be a good match.
I'm saying for all the matches y'all wanted Toni Storm to go up against, besides Toni Storm, no one was really going for her opponents, or even interested in her other opponents. If it was Nyla Rose, I think people will be more interested in the opponent and Toni Storm as well. And like I said, I'm just spitting stuff out.
Toni Storm's not a Swiss Army knife, unfortunately. Like,
what I'm saying
I like Toni, but I will not make the claim that she's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. Like,
what I'm saying is all the freaking opponents you had against Toni Storm, and no offense, no one was really caring about the opponents. They just cared about Toni Storm. Yes, let Nyla Rose have a crack at it.
But like, her opponents were curated. All of her opponents are, classic technical wrestlers. Serena Deeb.
And no one cared. No offense, but no one cared.
Okay, I'll say it. Toni Storm sucks.
I don't think she sucks, but the character-wise, no one was cheering or booing who she was facing. They just cared about Toni Storm being classic Toni Storm.
She can't lift someone up. She can only match their pace. She can match their...
And we're kind of getting off subject. What I'm just saying is, I think Nyla Rose deserves more on our TV. That's what I'm saying.
And I agree 100,000,000% with that.
But I think her versus Mercedes would be a great match, and I would love to watch that. But her versus Toni, I'm pretty sure would suck.
The problem is that I don't think that her versus Mercedes will be a fine match. I just don't think there's any unpredictability there. There's nothing that I've seen to make me think in any way, shape, or form Nyla Rose is going to win that match. There just isn't, and that's a problem.
Yes.
So, and that's because of the way that they booked her and treated her. And, I don't care about the intergender stuff. I don't give a shit about that. Yeah. She is a women's wrestling in the women's division. She is an amazing talent. She can talk. She can wrestle. She can do whatever you ask her to do. She looks the part. There's no reason why she shouldn't be in every main event or around the main event title all the time. There just isn't, and she isn't, and that's a disservice.
I think AEW's the nail on the coffin as a threat. Right now, I'm not putting any wins towards Nyla Rose. All right, she did this match, she's going to lose, which is very much unfortunate. All right, so next, another backstage segment. So last week, Darby challenged Jack Perry to a TNT match. This week, he did that by Darby beating up Brandon Cutler. Jack Perry came and said, "You think I care about Brandon Cutler?" He beats Brandon Cutler up, and evidently, I guess he says no. So I'm not sure why we had I'm not sure why we had the segment last week if we're not going to have a TNA match. Now, question: was that supposed to be in the works? But y'all did the hour-long thing, so y'all cut the match? Because it really doesn't seem like, because it really seems like, why would you just have that segment last week if you're not going to do Darby versus Jack Perry for the TNT title? Just a question.
I don't know. It seemed odd to me too. I can't imagine. If you have to cut it because you do the hour-long match, that seems like bad planning to me, right? You should be more on top of the ball. You should know last week when you set up this match in theory for this week that you're going to have an hour-long match on next week's episode also, and so you're going to have time. You know what I mean? Let's be real better, right? In theory, they should be smart enough to do that. At the same time, I don't know. Darby versus Jack, I like Darby. I don't like Jack. So, I'm kind of here for that match. I wasn't disappointed that it necessarily wasn't on here. I thought it was a little odd, but I wasn't disappointed necessarily that we didn't get it.
Me neither. It was just weird to have that segment back last week and you don't do that at all.
Yeah.
All right. And then next they show the recap of Mariah May poorly beat up. Badly beating up Toni Storm last week. She comes out. Mariah May to Toni Storm's theme music, and it took me a minute to know that it was the Mariah May. I'm like, I say now they officially look alike, because I'm like, oh, is that? I didn't know. It took me a good couple of seconds, like, okay, that's Mariah May doing a Toni Storm impersonation, because I really didn't know. She gets into the ring. She is taking her sweet, precious time. And Tony Schiavone says, "Big bitch," and everybody's like, "What? Hold up, wait!" Like Schiavone's like, I'm sorry, but she beat up Tony Storm. That was the I'm sorry. I love that more than whatever Mariah May said. That was so hilarious. Like, it could have just came out of nowhere. Speak, bitch. I'm like, wait, hold up. Everybody was like, wait, hold up. We get it. We are not condoning Mariah May, but that was, you didn't have to do that.
I love this. I'm glad that they didn't rush it. Like, getting this all in is going to be great. I'm rooting for Mariah May to win. Like, I couldn't be happier with this.
So, what Mariah May was like, basically the gist of the promo was, y'all all saw it coming instead of, but everyone except Tony Storm. I was going to kill. I was basically going to go out back and kill the horse. But I thought, why not do it on the grandest stage of them all, Wembley, right? And then she basically going for your title, and basically I'm going to be you, basically. It was a fine promo. I do think she took a little too long in her delivery, because case in point, the fans started doing what chants, unfortunately. And I'm not against Mariah May, but I do feel like you need to put, all right, you're not with Tony Storm anymore, so you need to put a little bit more stank on these promos and such, because you are officially by yourself. We've gotten you to this point, so you need to do a little bit more with these promos and these segments.
For me, it feels like if you put Tony Storm and Mariah May together, you'd have the perfect wrestler, because Tony Storm can do what Mariah May. Tony Storm has the personality and the promo ability that Mariah May doesn't quite have at this point, and Mariah May has all the wrestling ability that Tony Storm doesn't have. So, yeah, I mean, Tony Storm at this point is going to probably win in a promo battle. That's not necessarily knocking Mariah May's ability to talk, because I think she's fine, but I do think she meandered a little. I think she's going to take some time getting used to. She's still pretty green, right? She's still really green. So
Mariah May's been wrestling like 4 years, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's definitely very green to the American stage, right? So there's a lot of nerves. This is a huge program for her. I'm sure she's extremely nervous. And so this is the first big, real in-ring promo where she's got to carry it kind of herself. So I'm sure, and I thought she did a fine job. It wasn't perfect, but it was fine. And the match should be really good. I think Mariah May wins too. And I think Mariah May should win. I mean, I think Mariah May's probably got, at this point, definitely more potential. She's younger and more upside than Tony Storm. We know what Tony Storm is at this point. Tony Storm is who she is. She's not young. She's been around the block more than a few times. We know what to expect. Mariah May's the unpredictable, kind of the unknown here. And right now, she looks really good, and the potential is through the roof. So, I mean, I'm here for it. I'd say put the belt on her and let's see what she can do with it.
If Mariah May loses, there's only one woman I see taking the title off of Tony, and I don't know when Jamie Hayter's coming back. So,
well, because we're all hoping it's Wembley, so I'm not even going to put that in the atmosphere if she's not ready. But that's why I'm kind of like I kind of want Mariah May to get better, because people love Tony Storm. Like we were talking about it last segment with Nyla Rose. All of Tony Storm's opponents, no one really cared if they won or not. They just love Tony Storm. Now Mariah May is the best opponent that Tony Storm will face, point blank period. But if she doesn't get better on the promos, when she wins, I think people will be like, okay, she's ready to hold that belt, because that is the women's World AEW Heavyweight Championship, right? So that's why I'm like, you need to get better on the promos, because the build up to this match should be, I'm ready, I'm champion. Not, I still want Tony Storm to win, in my opinion.
I mean, luckily for Mariah May, if she does win, and the way that Tony books the titles, putting them on equal ground and having Mercedes have the other title does take a little of the pressure off of Mariah having to be the face of the AEW women's division in general. So I think she does benefit a little bit from that. I do worry a little bit if Mercedes having that belt doesn't slightly elevate it a little bit above if Mariah gets it. But again, they're still on the same level. It's really just pulling hairs. I mean, it's just whatever drawing strong, whatever you want to call it, splitting hairs. That's the term I'm looking for. Splitting hairs. So, yeah. I mean, I think Mariah May gets the win. I've liked the Toni Storm run. She's had really solid matches over a lot of good people. She's character-wise, this has been her best character for sure, and the best work she's done of her career. At the same time, I feel like I'm not opposed to seeing somebody else with the belt now. And without knowing when Jamie's coming back and feeling like at this point we're now just treading water until she comes back to put the belt on her feels a little weird. There's other women around that I feel like deserve a viable shot at that belt besides Mariah May, exclusive of Jamie Hayter, that just waiting for Jamie to come back feels like doing a disservice to some of the other women. But it is what it is. I mean, we'll see what ends up happening. It should be a good match, though, at minimum. I mean,
yeah, agreed. All right, and so next we have another backstage segment where, very controversial decision. The Bang Bang game was stripped of the trio's titles because, in Christopher Daniels' explanation, Jay White won them, not Juice Robinson. But we all know about the Freebird rule, so we're all like, dude, what the frick are you talking about? Freebird rule states that it's just 3 people have to be in the ring for the trios championship. But whatever, they're gonna go against somebody. No. They're gonna try to get them back on Collision. So this was a nothing segment in the case of it made no dang sense. Any thoughts?
Yeah, that was weird to me because, like, looking back at it, like we've had the trios belts defended with a substitute person, have we not?
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe so. Yeah, and definitely the tag team belts have been defended. A la case in point, MJF by his dang old stuff. So yeah, the rules are not that finite and clean when it comes to AEW. So them doing this segment, it wasn't necessary, and it kind of made Christopher Daniels look stupid.
I was so excited when AEW started and we had what felt like potentially the best trios division on the planet. And then he created the titles. And I mean, other than a few matches and a few feuds, it feels like the overall arc of the AEW trio title has been down and hasn't been overly exciting other than for a few moments. And so I don't know. I mean, they need to do something different. They need to somehow repackage those titles, warm them up again, do something. And maybe this is an attempt to do that. I don't know. It's weird. It doesn't make any sense, and it's weird. Just when I feel like AEW's in like a good, it feels like Dynamite is really flowing, and Tony Khan's, I'm assuming it's still Tony Khan doing the bulk of the booking, has kind of picked up and gotten better and a little more coherent, makes sense. And you have these kind of things, and it's like, well, okay, well, maybe not.
Well, like 2 things, right? It feels like when we got the trios division, y'all kind of spread thin the tag team division. That's number 1. Mm-hmm. And then number 2, you didn't want to give the belts to anyone except the Young Bucks, who kind of tampered with the starting point of the belt. So
yeah,
honestly, I'll give it another year, and we'll gotta just get rid of them or not. Honestly,
the Young Bucks held the trios championships less than any other team.
But no. When they got either hurt or suspended, Tony Khan said the trios titles, the first champ should be the Young Bucks. That was already in his mind. So when Young Bucks weren't there, he didn't put too much effort into the trios championships, is what I'm saying. So that kind of that didn't really give us, there you go, let the trios champions start on a good foot. I'll give it a year, and after a year, if y'all have not done any progress like I did with the international championship, I just say get rid of them because
We've
you need
done.
more teams on. Yeah, because you need more teams on tag. Cause the tag. Look at the tag team division. You took basically everyone from the tag team division and put them in trios, and the tag team division isn't that good. So it's like it got to be one or the other, in my opinion. I'll give you another year to make it better, or give you some more tag teams. But yeah, like who's in the tag team division who's worth beating the Young Bucks right now?
How has
It
House
feels like
of Black, not House of Black, Blackpool Combat Club never held those titles?
I don't
Yeah.
know. And stop saying that. It reminded me because last year it's like we got close to it when everybody was going against House of Black. It was FTR, Blackpool Combat Club, and even Roosh's group. But y'all didn't really do nothing. Y'all just had that moment in a couple of matches, but it didn't really lead to anything. I don't know.
And also, Blackpool Combat Club beat FTR, and FTR was the last team to go up against the Young Bucks, and it's like,
The trios and tag teams are a hot mess right now. And like I said, you got a year to make both divisions better, or one got to give. And I say the trios titles got to give.
listen, Tony, buddy, listen.
Okay.
Blackpool Combat Club, they either have to have the tag titles or the trio titles. It don't matter which one, but you have to give them one of them. Your choice.
Agreed.
You got to give them one of them.
Tony
I
says,
agree.
"Leave me alone. I'm having fun."
All right, and now we officially have gone to the main event, which is Okada versus Swerve. And this was a good match. But unfortunately, when they announced Okada versus Swerve and Ospreay versus MJF, my mind is instantly thought, oh, one of these are going to end in a DQ, or one of these are going to end in a time limit draw. So unfortunately, Okada and Swerve had to end in a DQ. It was for a good cause because we have Blood and Guts next week. So all of the Elite came and tried to hurt Swerve, and all of Team AEW came. And even though we spoiled it for you, we did not know Darby was going to be on Team AEW until he descended from the rafters like his old mentor Sting. He is the new Sting. It's Darby. And so that's how the show ended, in a brick apart brawl. We have officially know everybody that's on Team AEW, everybody's on Team Elite. Blood and Guts is next week. Like I said, it was a very decent match, but unfortunately, yeah. And I get, real quick, I get putting both these matches on your show to get ratings, but yeah. All right, you say what?
So I was going to say, this is, 250, so they wanted to do some big stuff, and obviously they had the MJF Ospreay match at the beginning that was huge, and the title change. So I do think that should have been the main event. I feel like after that, even though there was a lot of good stuff and the episode was fine, it felt down a notch after that, just because that took so much out of me, like emotionally and mentally, watching that hour and all that. It should have been the end. But that being said, and I'm not an Okada fan. I don't like Okada. So I like him better now than I did before, and that's not saying a lot. So
there is a problem to doing that, though, and that is that when the match starts, then you know that it's an hour-long match because it's the main event, and there's an hour left of the show.
This is true. It does give some predictability to it. That is true. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's the reason they decided to do that. So I mean that does weigh in a fair amount. I hadn't really thought of that, but this match ending the way it did is fine. Obviously, it is what it is. They're hyping up Blood and Guts next week, and that's fine. it's weird to me for a big Dynamite to hype up another big Dynamite. It's not like this is a pay-per-view. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah,
it's taking your 250th episode, which is a huge deal, to hype up next week's big deal AEW. Which okay, it is what it is. I mean, you want to continue to build to stuff, and I get that momentum and all that stuff. Me personally, and I think the match will be fine. I'm not overly invested in this Elite versus Team AEW Blood and Guts match. There just isn't, for me personally. It just, I don't know. I'm not. There's other stuff that I think I'd rather see if I was booking out a card, or even more people I'd rather see in this match if you're doing Blood and Guts. But at the same time, it is what it is. So,
does this feel like the weakest build to a Blood and Guts match?
Oh yeah,
definitely, for sure.
Because like with the first two, there was a reason for these people to get into a what you call it, a ceiling sealed cage and fight each other. I can't stand your behinds. Like, no offense, I don't feel that between anybody from Team AEW versus the Elite. Like, even with Swerve, like no offense, they haven't screwed Swerve to the point of, oh, I want to kill you, basically unalive you in a cage. So like, if again, a lot of people have said this, if you would have put control AEW on the line, then this would have gotten more hype. But no, just us being in the cage, beating the crap out of each other, no, it's not enough.
I agree. And Team AEW is a little too mishmash for me. I mean, I know you tend to get that when you just have a team of guys facing the faction that's wreaking havoc at the moment, but just the combination of guys, I don't necessarily like. Swerve with those guys. He's, Briscoe is a baby face, and Darby, for all intents and purposes, is a baby face. The Acclaimed, for all intents and purposes, I think are faces, and Swerve is definitely a heel champion. He doesn't seem to fit, and I understand that. Can they coexist? That works well for wrestling, quite often, but I just don't necessarily like that pairing of this particular group of guys for Team AEW. But it is what it is. I mean, Okada and Swerve was fine until it broke down and became what it was. And, it ended the show fine. I mean, all your big stars that are going to be in your main event next week are on the camera at the end of the show. And that's what you wanted to do. So you achieved your goal. So.
All right. So that was the end of Dynamite. My rating, I give it a B. And that's only because the second hour, like, if you know you're gonna do an hour-long Ospreay versus MJF, that second hour just can't be tossed to the wayside. That's what it kind of felt like. So like either you do two great matches, or just do another 30-minute match and then have some great promos. But that second hour was not good, and I can't justify giving the whole show an A when that second hour was,
I enjoyed the second hour. I'll go ahead and give it an A-.
Okay.
So I do agree with Anika. I think that it does get a little bit of a grade off for the second hour, but after the first match, I was at A++. So for me, this show still felt like an A+ show. I mean, it was so good. The first opening match is enough to carry the whole show, in my opinion, and still keep it at an A or an A+. So I'll give it an A, just because A+ sounds a little bit like hyperbole, like I'm hyping it up a little too much. But it's a solid A. I mean, I'm almost willing to give it an A+, even with the back end not being quite as good. So
I was debating whether to give it an A myself.
I thought it was almost
a couple little nitpicks, and I'm like, it's enough to bring it to an A- for me.
Yeah, I mean, that opening match I thought was just so perfect that, I mean, it almost doesn't matter what you put after it, that, the show's still just, it's an A+ show, just because that match is so good. But yeah.
No, I heard someone, like, to your point of that should have been the last match, and Sammy was like, well, how do you do the finish? I heard someone say, because commentary was the one who said, hey, we have 2 more minutes left of the match. You could have just said, like, after 30 minutes, hey, because this match is going so long, we're going to cut so-and-so. Hey, because this match is still going, we'll cut so-and-so. You could have done that to kind of like...
Well, that wasn't my point. My point was, when you start the second hour of the show with the main event, then everybody who's watching it is like, okay, well, it's going to go until the end of the show then.
Well, not
I suppose
necessarily
if you don't declare it the main event, I
that
mean,
part, because
once you declare it the main event and start it, with an hour left in the show, it does breed some predictability.
but like
I mean, that the segment itself is going to last an hour because they've already declared it the main event. Either the match goes 60 minutes or there's going to be some big thing afterwards that takes up the time. But that segment has to finish the show because it's the main event segment. So I do get that. If they hadn't said, this is our main event, if they had just started it, and with the
yeah.
impression that maybe there was still something after, and then 30 minutes in, this match is running over time. We decided to push so and so to next week, then maybe so. But that would have taken some foreshadowing that I don't think Tony seems to have the ability to do as far as creatively in his mind. So,
Because Dynamite have ended on promos. Like they haven't.
Right.
Not everyone has ended on the match, so it could have been a little wiggle room to make it the main event, but understandably,
this is true. This is
Which Blood and Guts was your favorite?
the second one.
You're gonna have to even tell me who was in each one of them because I don't remember
So-
at this moment.
Oh, you want
I
to go?
get them confused. I know the matches are different, but because they're big multi-man matches, I always get them confused with like Anarchy in the Arena City. As far as who's in what, I know the match structures are different, but just who wrestled who in which event, I always get.
So this was the
can't
fourth
keep
one.
straight.
I just realized that, which is crazy. The first one was basically Chris Jericho's team versus
Was that
Maxwell
Inner
and
Circle?
Pinnacle. Yep, Inner
Yes,
Circle
that was the
versus
Inner Circle
Pinnacle.
versus Pinnacle. Okay,
And that's when Chris Jericho fell
and that
on
was
the
MJF, Wardlow, FTR, and was it just four of them, or was there a fifth? I'm trying to remember. Did they have a fifth? Was it Shawn Spears?
Yeah.
Josh Spears. And
Okay,
that's when,
yeah, okay.
MJF was pushed on the bed of pillows.
Right. Okay.
The second one was Blackpool Combat Club versus the Jericho Appreciation Society.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that was great. Ending with Eddie Kingston and Claudio on the top with both submission moves. And unfortunately, Claudio got the tap out right before Eddie Kingston got the tap out, which was great. We thought that was going to lead to Eddie Kingston versus Claudio, but no, you had to suck Eddie into the vortex of Jericho. But it's fine. Not fine, but it is what it is.
The third one was Blackpool Combat Club versus the Golden Elite.
Which was cool.
I think
that was
my
the Bucks with that was Ibushi, and that was when Coda was back, right? And Kenny and the Jacksons.
Yeah.
And Hangman Page.
And Hangman Page, that's right.
Yep.
I think that was my favorite one. In hindsight, I think that was my favorite one.
I like the second one. I like any time where Eddie Kingston go butt crack crazy in a cell. It's hilarious. Like him just throwing Sammy Guevara off and then just laughing like a crazy person. And again, that spot with Cool Hand Ange just upside down trying to escape with the blood pouring off his face. Like, yeah.
Eddie Kingston, everyone knows he's my boy, and like I hate picking against him, but the other people on that side of that match in the Jericho Appreciation Society were left so much to be desired for me that I feel like the talent was just so much better in year 3 than it was in year 2. That I just, other than Eddie Kingston, it's like, yeah, and nothing, no disrespect to Cool Ange and Daddy Magic. I like them, but they're not at the level of a lot of these other guys. I mean, let's just be honest about it, right? So, it is what it is.
For me, the third one, the ending, the freaking cameraman didn't see it. The ending was they had Yoda versus in a submission move, or they're gonna basically unalive him, and Moxley said, "I surrender." They didn't catch that, so that was unfortunate. Right. It was just like, come on, man. So that kind of left to desire.
Anytime the BCC loses, it's always a little disappointing too. It is what it. I mean, it makes it a little bit less, whatever. But
the whole thing of like Don Callis coming out and like being like, Takeshita, let's go. Like, this ain't looking good.
Yeah.
Let's go. And Takeshita leaves, and then didn't Pac leave as well? Like, he got frustrated because somebody did something to him, and he was like, screw this, I'm done.
Yeah.
Screw all you. And just leaving Blackpool Combat Club, the 3 of them against the 5 of the Elite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's these multi-man matches are what they are. I have my issues with them to begin with. I think they're a little bit better when you confine them to a cage because I think it's easier for the cameras
Mhm.
to catch more stuff than when they spread out everywhere. Um, that being said, they're a chaotic clusterfuck, and it is what it is. It's going to be a spot fest with all these guys. You're going to get a lot of great spots. You're going to get all that. I mean, I'm sure. Um, team Team AEW and this Blood and Guts for me doesn't really move the needle a whole lot. I like the Acclaimed, and I like Darby Allin, and I love Mark Briscoe, and I love Swerve. But as a team, I'm not like, yay, let's go. Like I feel a little underwhelming as a team for Blood and Guts. But at the same time, it is what it is. So we'll see. I mean, the match should be fun.
Yeah, agreed.
All right.
It feels like
Anything anyone
such a
else wants to say?
mixed match team.
Say
It
it again,
is.
Sam?
It is a very mixed match team,
Yeah,
which
it
is
is.
part of my problem with it. I mean, it's part of my problem with it, but we'll see how it ends up playing out. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if Swerve can play nice or if they'll have him play nice. I mean, what that ends up looking like because it's definitely one of those can they coexist situations, right, to a certain extent, and so we'll see what that looks like. I mean, I am happy to see Mark Briscoe. I mean, anytime he's on my TV, I'm happy. And I think this is, he definitely thrives in these kind of more intense environments. So, Mark Briscoe should have a really good showing. I'm excited for that. Yeah, I mean,
I would have preferred an Eddie Kingston or even a Keith Lee.
from Mark Briscoe.
I mean, take your pick.
Yeah, I mean, if I was sitting down and constructing a team AEW, I'm sure there's 5 people that I would rather have together than Swerve, Darby, Mark Briscoe, and the Acclaimed. But it is what it is, right? I mean, but yeah. All right. So unless there's anything anyone else wants to say, we'll do a little house cleaning and just remind you guys we will be back in just a few hours actually for TNA Slammiversary live watch along starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So make sure and come back for that. If you've been here with us for this episode 2 of the Winner's Circle, we appreciate it. Please hit that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, hit the like button on this video. It helps a lot. Hit the bell on YouTube to be notified. Let's see. I'll put the little horsey up. This is our. Where is it? Oh, it's not in here. Shoot. I don't actually have the horsey at the moment, but needless to say, you can find us on Twitter. We're on Twitch. You can follow us on both of those. Please give us a follow on both of those. We're on every social media that's out there. Dolores is great about getting us everywhere. If you go to Linktree, you can find us everywhere. We are on every Sunday for Enter the Square Circle. Myself and Sammy Joe battling it out on WWE 2K24. Every Monday, Dolores and Jay News do Seeing Stars, where they talk about everything that's going on in the world of independent wrestling and all the up and coming stars. On Tuesday night, we're live for the Cookout, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about all that's cooking up in the world of professional wrestling. We're live on Friday nights for Friday Night Fights, where Anika and Sammy Joe watch SmackDown and Rampage live and give you their live opinions and reactions to the show in real time. And on Saturday mornings, we're back for the Winner's Circle, like we are here right now, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, where we review Monday Night Raw, NXT, and Dynamite from the week before. And then generally there'll be a Saturday night watch along for Collision. That's on pause until September 1st. So, but make sure and come back September 1st on Saturday nights for Collision watch along. Unless anyone else has anything to say, we'll get up out of here.
Winner Circle.
Yes.
Technically
yeah.
AEW Dynamite, but more so Ospreay versus MJF. That's more so who won this week. Ospreay versus MJF.
Honestly, if they had just cut the show there and didn't do a second hour, I'd probably have given the show an A+.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could have been, if it was a 1 hour show. Or, in theory, what would have been ideal? You want to give Rampage a boost. It's a 1 hour show anyhow. Make it a live Rampage for this week and put that show as simply the only match on that episode of Rampage. and call it good. 1 hour match for the whole episode, and that would be it. I mean, I think people would tune in for a live Rampage. I think one of the things that bugged that affect Rampage is that it's pre-recorded and everybody already knows what's happened. So if you make it live and you give them that one, they got a 1 hour block, I think that works perfect. Now, more eyes are on Dynamite, and it's a huge match, so in theory you want it on Dynamite. But at the same time, I mean, you'd like more eyes on both Rampage and Collision, and something like that I think would at least bring it for that episode, if nothing else. So let's see. All right. So until later, and as usual, peace.
Bye.